The Thinking Tackle Podcast.
Here you go, so I'm fucking going from the start.
But about time too.
Fuck's sake. Come on, man.
Was it? This was the only way of
Where
it.
am I? Can't see nothing.
I'm sorry, mate.
We need some scissors, Ed.
Oh, come on, boys. Take these off. They're cutting into me.
What was
Been
it
here
like
days.
down? What was it like down in the cellar then, Nick?
I don't know. I've had a hood on for the last 24 hours.
So thank you very.
Oh,
There we go.
fucking hell.
We've
All right, you've got me. I've run and run and run and run and run, and they got me in the end.
It was difficult to get on, Tobe, wasn't it?
We've been after him for ages.
Yeah, yeah.
So have a lot of people.
Right,
Right,
so it
starters.
was we resorted in having to tie your hands together and like kidnap you, Nick, didn't
Yeah,
we?
no, it's cut me hand and everything.
I know, it's awful.
Yeah, don't sue
Right,
us.
Right.
I'm here. Say no more. I'm here. Right. Look, I've had a hood on for hours. Right. I'm here. Hello. Hello. For one, I'm not sitting there, mate.
What do you mean?
Camera's on me right.
Hey?
Camera's on me right.
Yeah, but no, but I'm the host. I always sit here.
I'm the boss. Turn it round. Right. Yeah, I've got to sit that side. I'm really sorry.
Tobe, what's going on here?
Yeah,
mate.
Doesn't look like you're the host tonight, mate.
No. Not right. That's better. I'll tell
What do you
what.
mean you're in my
You
seat?
can keep that. I don't want that bit.
Okay, you don't want this.
There we go. That's much better.
Yeah?
I'm left-handed. I've got to be viewed from the left. There's women watching this.
Cool, it's a bit bright over here. Stick the headphones on, Nick.
No chance.
Hey?
No, mate. No, I'm not doing none of
It
that.
looks brilliant, him on your side with the wall.
This is strange. This is, Tobe, isn't it? Blimey.
Sorry. So to anyone that's watching, I look like a sweating rapist, but actually, I'm an outdoorsman, so being indoors is really, really difficult for me.
So are we not going to wear the headphones on this podcast?
I'm not wearing it. You can wear as many as you want, mate. Feel free.
Well, I'm not that keen
You're
on
just
wearing
trying
them
to
either.
look the part, aren't you? Let's face it. Why would you wear headphones?
Well, it looks good,
If
doesn't
anybody
it?
else how many guests have you had that wore headphones?
All of them.
Well, there you go. I'm afraid what
Every
you've got to
single
remember is,
guest.
in life, I'm not a do-as-you-told-her. I've never been a do-as-you-told-her.
That surprises me.
My life's about freedom and freedom of choice, and like I choose not to wear your headphones.
You need to pull the mic up.
Closer.
Yeah, right close. You need to be right on that mic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're comfortable now. So you've been looking forward to coming on this podcast.
I really didn't want to do this. I've got listen. I've
He's
got to a
the
stage I've got to the stage in my life and in my angling life where I do solely what I want to. I know I've always done. I know I've always done what I wanted to do. I'm a bit of a free spirit in that respect. But yeah, I don't want to do stuff like this. I've got no interest in talking about myself. Why do you want to talk about yourself?
So why are you here?
Because Damo sends me nice leads, and I feel obligated to do something in return, and because I'm a good person. So like, he said, "Well, please come and do the podcast." I was like, "Yeah, of course, mate, no problem." And Toby actually was the one that I angled him like a pinch.
How did you get
Yeah,
to call
mate,
Nick anyway, Tobe? How did that happen?
Do you not
Right.
remember the phone call? I just went, I've just spoke to Nick. You're like, how'd it go? I went, I don't know.
No, what happened was Toby rung me or sent me a message, and I thought, "Who's this Toby?" I thought, "I don't know." Who he
I
is."
spoke to you a year ago, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke. You didn't sound very interested then.
No, I've got no interest in. I'm not semi-retired. I do what I want to do work-wise. I take it or leave it. I don't want to do this. I don't like talking about myself per se. I like telling a story and being funny and being the joker and stuff. Of course, I love that. But I'm just at a point I'm 50 next year, and I'm just at a point in my life. You've got to remember, I fished so hard for so long. I've done so much of it, and such a varied field of it. I don't just do carp fishing per se. I do every form of carp fishing, from the most extreme to the most non-extreme. So I'm just, I don't know. I've managed to orchestrate my life in the last 10 years to the point where I do exactly what Nick wants to do when Nick wants to do it. So when people want me to do stuff, fair enough, I have sponsors, I have contractual obligations, and I have to do stuff like for sticky baits, I have to make a couple of films a year. But for someone like me, that's money for old rope. What, go and catch a carp and have a laugh doing it? Like, fucking hell, come on. Anyone can do that.
So the secret is to not ask you to do something, and then you're likely to do it.
No. The secret is just to not ask me at all and spring it on me when I'm either a little bit wayward, and then I might agree to it. But I don't want to do this shit anymore.
Yeah. Well, this is different though, this, isn't it? I mean, you've...
not really. It's the same old bollocks. But
You ain't been kidnapped before, have you?
No, I've never been kidnapped. Well, actually,
We
I
had
have
to go
been
to extreme
kidnapped.
lengths.
That's another story. It was nothing to do with fishing. Anyway, so I had a girl once kept me hostage for a few days.
Go on, what happened there?
Go on.
Seriously, it's a little bit blue for Korda podcast.
No, you
That's
can...
all right. Well,
But I'm
you
just
two-
saying, I have been held against my will before now. Let's just say that. So, and by the police once. I was in a police cell once. Only once. And I'm 50 next year, so if you've only been in a police cell once in 50 years, I think that's fucking good going.
I've never been in a police cell. Have you, Tope?
I haven't been in a police cell. No.
That's all right, you got that to come.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Maybe.
You got all these wonders of the world.
Sorry,
to
Dad.
come.
Well, this is completely different, but this is nice. I can see you for a change as well, Tobe. Actually, anyway. Nick Helleur, we are live. We're live. Welcome to the podcast.
We live?
Well, we say that, don't we? You've been watching them, haven't you?
No,
What?
I haven't seen one of them.
I bet you have.
I swear on my daughter's life, I have not seen one of them.
Well, anyway, we're live.
Oh. Hello. Hello, fellow Carp idiots. I bought you a present because I didn't know about presents.
I don't even need to ask you for the
But
gift.
but I'm a professional, so come on. Right, so I bought you a present,
Right.
not a load of this old tot, right? You might as well throw it. It looks like a jumble cell. Get rid of it. Anyway, I've bought you a Buddha because spirituality, as we know, goes hand in hand with life and angling. And although I'm not particularly religious, because of the nature of my life, if you like, I'm quite spiritual and really superstitious. I think that's the mark of an angler. And I bought you a Buddha because Buddha can bring light into darkness.
That nice little Buddha there.
Yeah, he brings light where there is darkness, but he also brings calm and happiness and good luck and good fortune. So
Well,
I'd like you to have that, and not just for you, but for everybody that comes into this room.
We'll just give the old belly a little rub
give
as
the
well.
belly a
innit?
rub, make a wish. You never know your luck.
No, great. Thank you very much.
That's
It's a
fine.
little bit different.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So you've said before, Nick, you're a bit of a Peter Pan sort of character. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a product. I've said it many times throughout my life. I'm a product of where I was brought up. That's why I am. If I'd have been brought up on a council estate in Glasgow, I'd have been long dead from heroin, I expect. As it is, I was brought up in the Colne Valley, surrounded by lakes, and like fishing's pretty much killed me. but you know what I'm saying. You're a product of where you brought up, and I am not just a product of where I was raised. I'm a product of the time I was raised. So I was brought up in an era where we had fucking much more freedom than the children of today. And if you're brought up in the, walking around in the middle of the night, climbing out my mum and dad's house at like ridiculously young, 8, 9 years old, like going out all night, 2 or 3 days sometimes, police being called, looking for, it was different, if I went out in the middle of the night, as long as I was back by dark, if my mum and dad got up and I was gone, they thought, oh, he's gone fishing. They'd check, bike's gone, I've gone
Well, I've
fishing.
heard this. Were your parents worried about you, or
I don't think they even realised half the time. If
were your
they're in-
parents? I mean, they weren't strict then. But you I know you talk about your dad a bit as well. He was quite institutionalised.
Yeah, my dad was just, what you got to remember was I'm 50 next year. So my dad came from a different time. He came from a time where you went to school, you left school, you met a nice girl, you courted her, took her to a dance, got married, had a couple of sprogs, got a drum, and that was you. Your life was going to work to provide for your family, the family life. The great idyll, which of course, as we know now in the modern world, counts for shit. People don't want to do that, and if they do that, they find themselves at a fucking loose end in their 40s because it's all gone tits up.
Were you
that's
questioning that? Were you questioning that like right from an early age?
Yeah, I mean, my dad worked for the same company for 50 years. He was a great father. I had massive respect for him. He thought I was a complete idiot for going fishing. He couldn't understand it. He thought he wasn't spiritual like I am, I mean, spirituality comes from a lot of things, doesn't it? Mine is my life and the experience I've led, the drugs I took, like whatever, like a sum total. Do you know what I mean? If there was a Nick bucket, there'd be a fucking lot of stuff in it. Do you know what I mean? So my dad, and he was a great father. We grew up in a lovely house. We never wanted for anything. I wanted a BMX. I got a BMX. I wanted a CB radio. I got a CB. It was growing up. But he was an institutionalised worker. He worked for someone else. He made the money for somebody else. And I'm a product of a different time. Like the rave scene and all that changed hugely.
But you got a
changed
sister
us.
as well, haven't you? So
I've got a sister same age.
Is she similar to you?
Yeah, she
Is
was
she?
she was going out before I was. raving and all the rest of it, like 14 and stuff, clubbing in London. I mean, I was clubbing in London as a child. Like, you look back now, it seems all a little bit surreal, really. But I had a very free upbringing.
I love the story about you moving to Harefield as well with the...
Yeah. Well, I didn't speak to my mum for about a year. Like, when we moved...
I wouldn't either.
No. I was born in North West London, actually. And we moved to Harefield when I was probably 3 or 4 years old. And my mum was going to buy the cottage in Cottage Bay at Savay. And the only reason she didn't was because she thought it was a little bit dark because it was surrounded by too many trees. And, like,
too many strange anglers.
Yeah. And like, I'd be like... Could you imagine the trouble that would have caused?
Oh my God!
Me on the cottage, dropping them in the edge.
Yeah,
like aged fucking 12 or something,
right,
catching one after the other. What's up with you lot? It's a bit difficult for you, is it? Hang on a minute.
Because they were fishing from there as well, weren't they?
No.
Hutchie
was poaching from round the back of the property.
Right. Yeah.
Like between there and the cottage, the canal bank.
Was he poaching? Or for the first rota, weren't they allowed to fish round there? I think they were allowed to fish on that bank.
Oh, I don't know about that. I really don't know about that. When I was fishing Savay from the age of 8 or 9, I guess.
When did she break the news to you that she was? She was.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't. To be honest
with
you, at the time, obviously, it didn't mean anything to me. But as I grew up, she kept saying, "Oh, I was fishing at Savay Lake. Sure, I nearly bought the cottage down there," and I didn't think nothing of it. But as I became a little bit older, I was like, "Fucking hell." And
you said your mum bought the house, so your dad didn't have anything to do with it.
No, dads didn't, did they? Like dads are like living in their own way.
But he didn't even know how much the house cost.
No, he had no comprehension. He just went to work, and mum cooked the books and told them that they could afford it. Like, obviously hocked them up to fucking major league, like as big a mortgage as you could get, I expect, at the time. My life. I mean, you're shaped by your parents and your certainly the younger part of your life. And for me, it was like a fucking playground. Like, I lived in the village, and surrounding the village on all sides was lakes and rivers and canals.
It's the absolute mecca of carp fishing at exactly the right time.
Yeah,
as well,
I was there. I was actually growing up. I was born in '71, so by sort of the late 70s, I was fishing all them Kodak, which went on to become Harefield, Savay, the Cons, the fisheries. Yeah, in fact, the only one I never fished, the only lake I've never fished in the Colne Valley. I poached most of them when I was younger, or fished them legitimately as well. But the only one I never fished was the Waltonians. It's the only one I never fished.
Why didn't you fish them?
I don't know. I remember when I had my Cons ticket, you got to remember, I never had a pot's piss when I was a kid, and it was like, I think the Cons is about £6 or £8 a year or something.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing, it might have been 15 quid, I don't know. But I remember hearing about the Waltonians, and a few friends had tickets. And now, of course, hindsight's a wonderful thing in life and angling, isn't it? But like, I look back now, and they were the carp for me. They were grey, fat, dumpy, everything that I love in a carp, So I was really surprised I never fished. I think they used to have a Nick Helleur patrol, I was told.
Oh, right.
At one time. Like,
I've heard a few rumours.
Oh, yeah, but this is just it, mate. You hear about the urban myth and that. I am the original urban myth. Like, the stories I've heard about myself have made my hair curl.
Go on, give us a good one.
So I was going to say,
I could give you many good stories. I mean, there was lots of them. There was, at a time, I heard lots of stories. My name's been brought up at this AGM from this club and that. And I used to feel really beleaguered about it. I was like, they were horrible bastards when I was a kid. I was keen. I was never a bad kid. Never stole anything, never hurt anybody, never took anything I shouldn't, never... Yeah, we used to fish where we like, but when you're a kid, it's like fucking, you've got to do as you like, ain't you? The key that says you can do what you like when you want. And there is no key, you just do what you like. But we did that. We fished at Harefield for the bream and some tench, and then we fished on the canal bank at Savay a lot. I can remember Brock's up bending my ear many times because I never had a day ticket, and Mr. Dougal, the first time I met him, he kicked me up the arse and threw me over the fence.
Pete would catch you going through the fence or something?
Yeah, one day I was crawling, I pushed my rod bag through and I was crawling through this little hole. I got my hands through, and then someone grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and literally and it was Pete Brock's up. We were just kids, like and you know what? They were a bit rough with us. But you sort of, you have half a smile, they'd give you a bit of a clump round the head and that, like not enough to hurt you, but just because they knew that you were just kids going.
Were you a bit more wilder than the other kids?
No. I was one of the Harefield was like a fucking zoo when I was a kid. Like, they were either riding motorbikes around the village all day and night with no crash helmets on, or stealing cars, or what we used to do when we were kids, we used to go to the scrapyard and buy a car. and like chip in and get one for a tenner and then just drive it.
How old were you?
Oh, we were children. Go down the Scrappy and he'd sell you a marina or something, and you'd literally drive it until it fell apart. And we just came from a different time.
Yeah.
You
And the fishing, you just grew into that, Nick, from living, absorbing all of that stuff.
Fishing, wasn't it? It was the first lake I ever night fished was the golf course lakes at the bottom of the Colne Valley, so behind Pit 3.
Yeah.
And like they were like wild. They were like our lakes. We used to call them the pike lakes. And it sounds bizarre, but many years later, we actually we saw an old boy catch one on a feeder from the lake behind, a small carp like this. We'd never seen small carp. And rather than thinking, we were so kiddish still then, rather than thinking we'll stock them in there because they'll get big and we'll fish for them, we thought we'll feed them in there because the pike will eat them and then the pike will get big. This is in the innocence of youth. And we did that, but by default, we were stocking the valley like before the 80s even,
Wow.
It sounds mental, doesn't it, now looking back? But like, I'd like to think that some of those carp that I ended up catching 35 years later were carp that I actually put in there all those years before.
Yeah, leave a bit of a legacy. But you said as well that you've known carp from certain lakes turn up in other lakes.
Oh, the Colne Valley. Listen, everybody talks about fish theft and this, that, the other. But what you got to remember is like how you look. We're sat here at Korda now. It's a multi-million-pound industry, and it's just one company out of thousands in this billions of pound industry. It's changed hugely.
You could say
from nothing. So yeah, there's lots gone on over the years, but of course, primarily, everything that we hold dear as like historical or special or as any ethos or kudos to it, I should say, was fucking brought about by theft and illegal movement. Like the best lakes of all were the lakes that had a mixture of fish that came from everywhere. And that's true. The very biggest names in carp fishing that inspired me and that I grew up like fucking holding in great regard, like they'd move fish left, right and centre, all of them, from this end of the valley to that end, from that end to this end, from here to there, from other counties. Like I can remember people going to Horseshoe years ago and catching as many as they could and putting them in the car and taking them everywhere.
Yeah, I mean they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. The rough grounds stocked fish all over the south of the England.
The rough grounds fish,
The rough grounds fish. And what you got to remember in carp fishing, ever more so, is people have got very short fucking memories. They like to believe their version of events, and although my memory's shot to pieces, I remember the important details. So
when do you agree that a carp, right, it's been moved around a little bit and now it's going to just stay? This is its home now forever. I mean, it just when did all that sort of stop?
Well, it's never stopped. It's never stopped. No, it's never stopped.
But it's different nowadays.
It's different now. It's because of disease and the moral aspect and all the other bits. Anything like that's frowned upon, and rightly so. But you also you've got to understand that it would be sallow and awful if everything in every lake was the same. I'm not just talking the same, but the same stock, the same strain, the same look. Like, no one wants that.
No.
Life is built on you don't go variety is the spice of life. And like, if you were dating girls and they were all blonde, blue-eyed, and 6 foot tall, you'd soon get the sick of them, wouldn't you? Like, but then a little saucy redhead appears, and you're like, oh, fucking hell! And like that was the way with carp fishing, and his, through life and through everything, like the best of everything has got a mixture, isn't it?
You were super keen though, weren't you? I mean, and it's never left you. Why is that?
Do you know what? I've always been super keen. I was one of them people. I was into BMX before fishing. Not before fishing, but about the same time. It came to a junction where it was either BMX or fishing seriously. And I'm just one of those people that if I put myself into something, I put myself into it 1,000%. And I've just always been like that. But fishing's different. Fishing ticked so many more boxes, and I was just oh mate, like a fucking raging bull, constantly. Like I couldn't get any keener for it, and I wanted all of it. I didn't just want to fish at Savay. I wanted to go to Holland, and I wanted to go to France. I wanted to go to America and Canada, and I was doing stuff like that 30 years ago. Seems mental. 30 years ago.
Are you aware you want to build up like a portfolio, or is it just?
No, I don't think so. I think now, with the way that everything's gone, which is just gone all poor, just gone the wrong way for many reasons. I think a lot of people are setting out to do that, to make themselves look like they're bigger and better than they are. But then that's fishing. Fishing is like, mostly rumour, a little bit of truth. But like I said, like my friend Stuart said, you know, they eat their own shit, and like this fucking multi-million-pound madness has all grown out of a fish that eats its own shit, and you big yourself up for catching it.
Yeah.
Come on. Like if you walked in here with 5 girls that you just pulled round the corner, I'd fucking.
Now your phone's going off, Nick.
Oh, Who was it?
We've Toby is so keen on us not having our phones switched on.
Lovely Times Towers. Nick speaking. How am I help you? I just put you on speaker because you're on the podcast. So say hello.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. Who is it?
It's Ollie Davis.
Ollie Davis. Hi, Ollie.
Hi, Ollie.
I'm doing the podcast. You're live on the TV.
All right then. I'll leave you to it.
All right, bruv. I'll catch you later.
We've got everything on this show, Nick, haven't we?
Sorry, I'm really sorry. I was meant to turn it off, but there you go. My life in a nutshell.
At least they could see it's not edit. When you were fishing as well, though, you were. It looked like not finding approval, but there was a lot of anglers on those lakes that you were quite persistent in trying to learn stuff off of these guys.
Well,
and
the difference was like now. And this is why I call them plastic big fish anglers of today. I don't mean to take. I mean, every generation scores scorn on the younger generation, but we were the last. We had to fucking do it ourselves. Like I had to learn, and I learned, and the learning curve was steep, and it took a long time, and nobody would tell you anything.
Did you win the approval of those guys?
Not really. They called me the pest. Through no other reason than I was like, they were asleep and I'd be there waiting for them to wake up so they'd make me a cup because I was freezing. Like they've all got bed chairs and I was in jogging bottoms and a t-shirt and like it'd be -5 and it was like people like, it was the people that ended up being,
Bill Quinlan sounded like he was a good...
Bill Quinlan was a lovely bloke. I spent a lot of time with Bill Quinlan and I haven't got hardly any pictures of him. He always used to wear stripy pyjamas and slippers and he used to eat Tesco's tin curry and shit. And like when all the big fish anglers fucked off after the fish had spawned, like he stayed there. I don't think he had anywhere else to go. And he was an old man then, and I was a young man then, and I didn't realise just how awesome being in his presence was. Like I'm very grateful for the time that I spent with the likes of Bill Quinlan, Len Arbery, Roger Smith, Chris Seeger, all the old Redmire crew, all the old Savay crew, all these people that I looked up to hugely who thought I was like just dog shit at the time, just an annoying little kid. There weren't any carp kids. That's what you got to remember. Now you go everywhere you go, they're fucking besieged by carp kids. Tell us a story, Nick.
Yeah.
Roll us a joint.
Yeah.
Make us a cup of tea. All this old shit, like constant. But back then, the only carp kid was me. That was it. There wasn't any others in the valley. So they used to sneak me in the pub aged 13 and 14. I was sitting there drinking beer in the pub with all the boys at 14.
Quality.
And I can remember on my 18th birthday party, they like the landlady barred me, Shirley. She said, "You've been in here for years, you cheeky little..."
Horse and barge.
Yeah. Well, they used to hide me and get me lager tops and that as a little kid. It was a different time, mate. And it wasn't... Now everyone thinks they're better than you, or they've caught this, so that makes them higher up a ladder and all that. It's fucking folly. It's laughable. It's gone so perversely the wrong way. It's just not cool. And like how it was everybody got on because everybody loved it. And everybody at Savay was on the same vibe and on the same thing. They'd all leave their rods out and all go to the pub and have a great night. Then all go to the Indian and then fucking have a fight and then all get in a lorry and come back and then all walk around the lake and check and see who's had a bite. And if someone's had a bite, there'd be loads of cheering and someone would fall in and we'd have to carry him back round to the Colne bank. And like it was the camaraderie.
That's what
like
got me into
the fun.
It
was just different, mate.
Yeah,
just
that's what got me into carp fishing in the first place. I don't think it was actually even like the carp fishing. It was all that camaraderie and all those stories and all those characters.
Do you know what? That was it. Characters. Like the fucking world has been lost to characters because now you're seen as a loose cannon if you want to give your opinion strongly or shout for something you believe in. Like it all seems wrong now, but back then you were celebrated for it. If Roger Smith fell over and sicked out his teeth, like that story's still being told now 5 years later because like everybody that was there, like it was just the time, mate. It was magical. We didn't know how many carp were in the lakes. We didn't know how big they were. Like it was Terry Earn and that few years at Yateley, that layer that started that targeting a fish or trying to fish for a set, and Maddox trying to catch 20/20s and him catching 100 doubles and all, like, personal targets, that's one thing, but when you start to impose targets on people, like, that's what you've got to do to be part of this or be our friend or be successful, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Like, you do what makes you happy. And in this world, and especially in modern carp fishing, people are preaching what you should do. You shouldn't do that, you should do this. Well, who the fuck are you to tell me what I should do? I do what the fuck I like. Always done what the fuck I like and always will. So it's people like me that actually say, no, I don't, that's not the right way.
Well, it's like going to university, isn't it? And if you respect education, you expect that the universities that tell you the right things to do, don't you? And you kind of get sort of brainwashed a little bit into believing that what they teach you is right. But
that's just one way of living.
But it is, and then you come out of that and you actually realise that you don't necessarily need to think that way. You can think for yourself and have your own mind as well.
I think in fishing, I think my generation, it comes back to my generation having more freedom than the mod, you know. Like
so
I said to you earlier, my sister was going to let her daughter walk to school, and it's down a high street that's busy. Everyone knows everyone. She's got to walk a few hundred yards. She couldn't get abducted. Everyone's there. There's people everywhere. But you know, when I was a kid, I used to ride my BMX 10 miles down the lanes to school. Now you'd be dead. Someone would kill you instantly. But back then, like I used to do a paper round in the dark with no lights down those lanes, and I'd drive those lanes every morning. Every morning I get up, got really bad back. So there's another little note for you, youth. Like, I've spent 35, 40 years on a bed chair. My back is shot to fucking pieces. So I wake up every morning at 3 o'clock in agony, and I have to get up and walk. And I walk 5 to 10 miles most mornings around the lakes in the dark, and I drive them lanes. And I look back and think, not like my mum didn't care about me. Like, just life was different then. People didn't have the same worries, and there wasn't as much traffic. I can remember walking to Savay, like, as a little kid with me wicker box and with all your shit in it that you didn't really need, but you still carried it all down there. And if I saw a milk float, I'd be running for cover in case it was me mum. But like now, I get up and go fishing for the morning, and like even at 4 o'clock, like the roads are solid with cars. It's just changed. Everything's changed. But fishing especially, more than anything.
But what I was trying to say is with the university thing is, like I say, you get educated to think in a certain way, and that's the worry nowadays, that everybody is being educated a certain way, and it's hard to break out of that mould.
Yeah, I think fishing especially. I think a lot of people are being guided down a road that's not sustainable. I don't think the modern take on fishing is sustainable. I don't think the way that people fish for carp these days is ethical or sustainable. I've just been sat in I haven't seen Damo for years, like he's an old mate. Like, you've got to remember, I worked with Dan and Damo since Korda started. And although my memory is shot to fucking pieces, I remember the relevant stuff and the people especially, and like, so it was lovely to see Damo and catch up at just how different things are now.
Yeah. I mean, if things evolve as well, you've got to understand that, but it'd be nice for people to have their own minds a little bit as well and be able to just think for themselves as well. And you kind of
I think my favourite, like I used to say in the Korda office many years ago, in the valley of the blind, the one-armed man is king.
Yeah,
that was our saying. Like, you know, well, my latest one is, there ain't no stickers on my buckets, mush. Now, like, you can take that however you want to take it, but I'm just saying, like, that things aren't the same anymore. Things aren't the same anymore.
When you were getting into this, like going down the lakes, and was it all about the fishing, or was it being around the people?
Den building. It was freedom, it was adventure, it was making fires. We used to get anything combustible and throw them in the fires, see if we could make them explode. All the things that naughty boys do. Melting milk crates. I can remember one day, a great story, I can't even remember the kid's name, but we were like, have you ever melted milk crates? Of course you haven't. Right, anyway.
Why'd you say that?
You don't strike me as... Anyway, so we had a big fire, and when you used to melt them, they used to go zoo as the plastic like make this mad noise. And I remember all we used to take for a day down the thing was a few packets of crisps and bottles of orange squash. And I can remember my mate standing there melting this fucking milk crate, and then something happened and it melted and a big blob of it went on his hand, and all I can remember to this day is him running around the woods screaming orange, orange, and what he was after was the orange squash to pour, but we were laughing so much we couldn't help. He's still got the scars now, bless him. Like all these years later. But there you go. We did some mad stuff, but we were naughty kids, but we weren't bad.
Did you spend a lot of time at school?
No. I went to school till about 14. Got another good story from school, which was pretty much the end. I used to have to go. My mum, she wouldn't let me go to school in Harefield because too many oiks. So she made me go to Ruislip, which entailed a big bus ride and loads of walking. And because I was from Harefield, all the kids from Ruislip would beat you up. And because I was going to school in Ruislip, all the kids in Harefield wanted to beat you up. So it's like I was living in a fucking war zone the whole time. But I used to get off at Ruislip Lido. Like, that was terminus for me. Yeah. And I'd go in the shop, buy 10 Rothmans Royals, because they were like really long fags. They were the cheaper than like that. They were like big joints. And 10 Rothmans Royals and a tin of sweet corn. But I used to get the ones that they'd just released one that had bits of pepper in it. That was my edge. I thought that was the edge. And I'd go to Ruislip Lido, chuck out my tench rods and sit there and smoke Rothmans Royals. Living the fucking dream.
Did you get
11?
Caught? Yeah.
Well, one day I was under me Wavelock brolly. I don't even think it was Wavelock. I think it was before then. And I had someone go, sir, there's Nick Helleur over there. And I was like, what the fuck? And then this geography teacher, he came up, battered me round the head and like made me pack up all my shit and carry it round the woods on the geography walk, on the nature trail and that. And then they took me back to school and the thick fucker suspended me. So I was back at the Lido the next day for like a whole week. It was like literally living the dream. So in the end, I just thought, do you know what? Me and school, I said to Damon, I said it's funny how life changes you, you know. I wasn't ready to go to school and like ready to learn to like actually ingest anything that was going to be useful for my future until I was 30 something. Like I left school at 15 like a fucking starry-eyed silly little boy. I was still a starry-eyed silly little boy at 35. At 45 I started to get, only through trauma and like big boy stuff, like I started to get a little bit of a plateau of understanding of the world. Yeah. But yeah, as a kid, like, no, I didn't. My mum said in all the years I went to school, she reckons I did an hour's homework in total.
But you've got a vocabulary and so you can see you're smart, so you must be able to learn subliminally.
Yeah, of course.
Without necessarily even needing to be there.
I didn't need to be there. School doesn't teach you anything. I think even the most powerful people in the world now say school just teaches you to do your chores.
It works for some people.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It didn't work.
It doesn't work for everyone.
No, it made me even more opposed to being told what to do.
Yeah, it made me a little bit more insecure about myself because if you don't scratch up at school, you know, it's like you're fucked, aren't you?
Yeah, fuck school.
You know,
well, nowadays it means nothing.
Yeah.
The richest people in the world, out the top 10 of them, like hardly any of them went to school. Yeah. The ones that did, like, paid no interest in it. I think that we are very fortunate. We live in a world where you can be whatever the fuck you want. And nobody can tell you otherwise now. But that's come about in the last 20 years. That wasn't how it was, because that wasn't how my life was. I had the school careers officer telling me, if you don't buckle down and do this, you'll end up on the scrap.
So what were you telling the careers officer? What were you going to do?
Like, basically, I said, mate, I'm going fishing. Like, I'm going fishing. He said, well, that won't make you a living. He's laughing now, mush. It's me at 50. I've done fuck all my entire life except what I want to do, and I've made a bloody good living doing
going fishing.
But going fishing,
yeah.
Answering to no one. I mean, the corporate life's not for me. I've never actually worked at Korda. I was a paid consultant. Now, age 50, I'd be very good working in the office because I'm professional to a point.
It's never too late, Nick.
It's far too late for me. I'm unemployable on many fronts.
It was hard getting him in the studio in the first place.
Yeah, you'd never get. Can you imagine trying to actually get me in here to work?
To come into
Nick,
work.
I've done one day this month. Yeah, I know, but I'll make it up. I won't make it.
What about your fishing though? I mean, you were catching a few fish, weren't you, when you were younger as well?
Loads of fish. Yeah, I was. It's easy now, and the thing is, a lot of what I say. I've been misquoted, you know, Nick Helly's arrogant. Never been arrogant. I'm stoned. I was a stoned kid for many years. So people thought I was arrogant or ignorant. No, just stoned and...
Or secretive.
In my own little bubble. No, I've never been secretive either.
Well, on the river last week when the guy was opposite you, because, I mean, you were free giving him information and stuff like that. What did you say to me? Tell me, yeah.
Yeah, because he was older than me, or certainly of my age group. He was quite clearly not a prick. Like, he asked the right questions. He said the same thing about the bailiff that I said, and blah, blah. And I thought, you know, these blokes are coming up here, they know the crack. Like, if you lie to someone that knows the crack, you're an arsehole. because he knows you're lying to him, and he just thinks you're a prick. That's it. Don't want to. That Nick Helleur, yeah, he tried to mug me off. Like, I don't mug people off. If you're proper, or I perceive you as proper, I never hide anything from anybody. I've never been a secretive angler, much to my forever to my cost. If I could have kept my mouth shut about certain things, I'd have been king of the world. Or certainly in a much better position financially than I am. I've just never been like that.
Can you see why people might think that?
Yeah. In the past, not now. No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
No, I'm a very different man from. I said to Damo today, like I said, I'm not the same Nick that you knew, even 10 years ago. I'm vastly different.
Yeah.
But I'm a product of the things that have happened to me in life, like everybody is.
Of course.
Like everybody is.
Of course.
And I've had an awful lot go on in my life.
Yeah, learn from experience, of course.
Yeah, well, I say learn. You never. I think as anglers, like
I think you absorb
have to learn.
your how you behave and how you act, and hopefully you make adjustments if you need to.
I'm quite candid. I'm really reflective as I get older, because I've done a lot of things wrong, and I look back and wish I could have changed how I did them. But I don't regret anything I've done. I've poached a few places I shouldn't have done, but at times when I wasn't thinking straight, you got to remember the rave time was like the 60s all over again. Lots of new drugs. We were all very expensive. My generation, with the freedom we had and being adventurous, and we were always going to be experimental. And I've lived a very hedonistic life. You know, it's run parallel with fishing, and that changes you as a person. It changes your personality. Like, there's not many things that can change your personality.
But you've had some injustices as well, haven't you? I mean, so getting onto the cons,
that's you got to remember that was like 91. I got kicked out of there, but I got kicked out because I caught too many, and I was too vocal about it. And I wrote a couple of articles, and I mentioned the point swim. That was why they kicked me out. I think there's every lake in the country's got a point swim. Look, they're just small-minded old men. And do you know what it was? Like, the power that they wielded because of it. All of a sudden, they became fucking like demigods to themselves, and like they ran those lakes. They made my life a fucking misery. My life at that time was the Cons Club. I joined it in '87, and like everybody there was my friend. I thought teaching, all it did was teach you valuable lessons that went on to teach you more valuable lessons about life. I got thrown out the Cons.
Did you see that coming then?
No. I wrote an article, and they wanted me out, and it was
what was that big cut?
I remember I still got the letter. Yeah, I still got the letter. A meeting was held in your absence.
Right.
14 members were present. I'll never forget it as long as I live, because it had a profound effect on me. No members were allowed to be present. So it was a bit of a kangaroo court. I can remember one of the best known big name carp anglers of our fucking era that year caught 7. I think I caught 40 something. Like, I hung them all out to dry. Without even trying. I never found it difficult. It was that time, it was the fish meal era, when, you know, like, it enabled a lot of people to catch more carp than they probably would have done normally. And me being one of them. But I never found fishing difficult. I always found carp fishing really easy.
I was going to say that. So by the time you were fishing the Cons, like, what were you, like 14 or something when you got on there? You were
87. No, I mean, I was fishing long life.
You needed a guardian with you, didn't you, on the lake at that time?
Yeah. I used to have to go up to someone and say, can I fish next to you tonight? And they'd go, no, fuck off.
That's why they called you the pest?
Yeah. Like, because I was desperate to fish at night. And do you know what? I was scared of the dark. I wouldn't walk down the side alley of my mum and dad's house without being absolutely petrified. But I'd be out in all weathers, all times of the year, on my own, under a brolly, like fucking absolutely apoplectic with fear. Like, but it just, I was
but
like...
you spent so much time outside, way more than most people.
Yeah, but as a kid, like, you're scared, aren't you? Like, and it was different then. There was a lot of fucking shady people about when I was a kid. Like, you know, we had lots of times down the canal where some bloke would sit down and then put his hand on your knee and all that, and you'd be like, what's he doing?
Really?
And yeah, that was just, we put ourselves out in places where the fucking subhuman members of society used to hang out, I guess. So we had loads of funny stuff happen to us as kids. We never really took it never damaged us, or like nothing life changing, but like stuff that you used to shrug off and stuff.
Well, you say that, but you don't realise, do you?
No, you don't realise.
You just you
don't realise.
That can be quite subconscious as well.
Yeah. I mean, we had lots of weird shit go on.
Yeah.
I could tell you some hair-raising stories.
Yeah.
I can remember once me and me... I can't tell this story. It's not suitable.
Of course you can.
It's really not suitable.
tell
Anyway,
anything.
it was quite funny. We used to fish on the canal a lot. Me and my mate Danny Smith years ago. I used to fish with a lad called Danny Smith. He's still the
The
best
pair of you sounded quite similar.
Yeah, we were raving. He was a really good DJ, playing out all the time. He went out with my sister for a while.
Yeah.
Me and Dan fell out many years ago, like people do in life, which is a shame because we fished really well together. It was one of the few people I fished with, about 3 or 4 people in my life, where we can go fishing and fish together, and we don't have to say anything. Like, we're both fishing. He fishes how I would fish, and I'm fishing how he would fish if he was. And we didn't even need to talk to each other. Like, we just had it down, and that's rare. Like, I fished with a lot of people. Most people I can't even be around. So, like, yeah, me and Dan had a really good fishing relationship. He was one of the very best anglers I fished with. He was one of them people that just was good at stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't particularly athletic or good at lots of things, but I was good at some stuff, whereas Dan was just one of them people that was good at everything. And we fished really, really well together for a long time.
And you were fishing a lot of nights as well.
Yeah, I think from school time, bearing in mind I never finished school properly, so from 14 I was not full-time but near enough full-time by choice, not full-time as in like I'm going to Yateley to be fucking Terry Earn or Rob Malin or anything like that. I had no interest in that. Like,
so this was post cons.
No, post cons, yeah.
Post cons when you met Dan, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they kicked me out of the cons. I'd known Dan all the time I was in the cons, but we were fishing from when they threw me out about start of the 90s, when the party scene was really kicking off. We were out 4 nights a week partying and the rest fishing. And even when we were partying, we were fishing, and we'd go straight from a party back to the lake and to the river, and we fished with no money.
You could stay fully motivated with the fishing, even though you're doing all that other stuff.
Yeah, but that's what that was what was motivating you.
Was it?
Yeah, of course. You were running on like it's like putting petrol in a car.
Yeah.
You don't put petrol in the car don't go nowhere. Put fucking petrol in it, go wherever you want.
Where were you fishing with Dan?
We fished everywhere.
Yeah.
Dan never really did much of that.
On ticket lakes, or were you guesting lakes?
No, that was at the time when we were proper exploring. We were going to anywhere that was big, unfished, no tickets, river, canal, weird carp fishing, places that people weren't. At the time, nobody was looking at the canals. No one was looking at the river, really. But the River Thames, fucking hell. In fact, the only carp... We met 2 carp anglers once fishing in Kingston upon Thames on the river, me and Dan, years ago, 30-something years, 40 years ago, I don't know. And bumped into 2 little kids that were like really keen as well, and it turned out that was Terry Earn and Dave Swinshat all the years before.
Destined to meet each other, bump into each other.
Yeah, we're just like birds of a feather fly together and all that. That's what my old mate Frank used to say. And it's true, like attracts like, doesn't it? And like you're drawn to people that have the same
I did
ethos.
read, because Terry's dad is an outdoorsman, isn't he? And
Terry's dad's a really good outdoorsman.
He's had that influence, but you are completely different influences, but the same sort of people. You've got a similar mindset to each other.
Yeah, I mean, Terry's more countryman than I am.
Right.
I don't shoot like Tell does. His dad does. He's a product of his dad, and his dad is fucking mustard at pretty much everything he does. He's craftsman. You see his garden, it'll leave you fucking in awe. He has berries and flowers growing that I've never seen before. And, he is a upper echelon at everything he does, it seems, Barry. A really talented individual. He's always on the front cover of Airgun World, and fucking, the parallels are there to see. But Terry is a countryman, and he was raised by a good countryman.
You could see that straight away when you met him as well. That you two,
I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it. But Terry always had that little bit more. He had a different focus than I did. Like, my focus was still getting out of my nut, taking as many sauce pots home as I could, or back to the lake and fishing as many places. My life has been more about experience. I'm like a fucking vacuum cleaner. Like, anything, I just want to suck it up and experience it. I've always been like that. Did
you feel, but after the cons thing, that seemed to sort of shape you a little bit, though, didn't it?
It did. I
would you have been doing that other
stuff?
stuff?
Did you ever hear about that?
I did hear about that.
Yeah. I mean, that just shows, like, that was at the time when I was so fucking off my nut.
You regret that now?
Yeah, of course. I didn't, people think I fished there forever in the closed season. I didn't. I was actually fishing with 2 lads that were already fishing it in the closed season. They were fishing all the lakes in the Colne Valley in the closed season. Nothing to do with me, not friends of mine. They were from Kent and Essex, I think. Again, long time ago. And they were like, we do what the fuck we like. Like, they're never going to let us in those clubs. Never. Like, and that was the power they wielded over you. It was like, this is ours, and you can't have a bit of it unless you fucking bow down to us. And
what about catching that fish and putting it on the cover?
I'd caught that fish was my first 30-pounder.
Yeah.
It was also my biggest carp before that. I'd only caught it twice over however many years I was in the club, and I went back and I fished for 4 hours, and I caught it. And
What was that, in daytime? Or
No, it was at night.
Yeah,
Went down at midnight, and I was back home before first light. They stayed on. I think that night everybody caught giants, but I caught that one, and I didn't want to catch it. It left me cold, really. I played it for 40 minutes. I'll never forget that. It fought like a fucking demon. And then when I got it in, it was that one, and it was £44 or something. Yeah. And I put it on the front cover of a magazine as a big fuck you.
Was that your initial reaction straight away?
Yeah,
I'm going to do that.
I fucking fuck you.
Yeah.
Think you can stamp on me? How do you like them bananas? And you know what? For all the damage it's done me since, it's cost me an awful lot. Like, I haven't been able to get into lots of places because of that. But it's also a lot.
Didn't I hear that you were
a lot of people gave me an awful lot of props for that, a lot of respect.
Did they?
I wasn't going to be fucking stamped on. That's what that was about. Not about going and catching a big carp, like, because I couldn't do it any other way. Like, I fucking went and caught it as a massive fuck you. Who do you think you are? They practically destroyed me. Like, I was a 16-year-old kid. They stamped on me so hard for no good reason. And then I stamped on them back with bigger boots. How'd you like that? And like,
were there many junior members on those lakes at the time?
No.
You were
no, like literally
anomaly.
3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
A lot of those kids are still carp fishing now, funny enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't do that for any other reason than I wasn't particularly thinking straight at the time. You got to remember, it was the rave scene, and there was all these amazing new drugs, and I was fucking out of my nut constantly. I was just, and it changed me. It changed me from a timid little boy into a fucking wild man.
How long does it take?
But for the better.
Yeah?
Like, yeah, definitely.
Well, all the Buddha
I struggled.
stuff and everything now,
Yeah, but listen, if you spend enough time outside and you spend enough time fishing, you cannot help but become spiritual. Like, you are locked in the moment fishing. And
Too much time to think.
No. You're locked in the moment when you're fishing. The rest of the world don't matter a fuck. You are there in the moment. And in this modern day and age, in this society, being in the moment is almost impossible.
Yeah.
And like, you can't help when you do that to such an extent, all those nights, all those dawns looking at the sunrise, like, you can't help but become
You're in a meditative
spiritual
state, aren't you?
Yeah, you cannot help but become part of everything.
Yeah.
You're there, aren't you? You're like a bulb, like in spring. It's really hard to explain because I'm not God Squad. I've never been religious in that
Just pull
respect.
the mic up a little bit.
But I am very religious.
Yeah.
In the fishing sense of things, and I am really spiritual, and I am really superstitious, and that all comes from, and it can only come from a life like mine. Fishing can make you a bit.
Is there anything that's made you superstitious?
Yeah, loads of stuff, because I grew up with all the old boys that used to go, when the wind's in the east, the fish bite least, and like, there's a magpie. Morning, Mr. Magpie. Morning, Mr. Magpie.
I always do
like,
that.
ridiculous.
Why am I
like,
doing
ridiculous.
that?
Why the fuck?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
But because in some regressive madness, you're paying your dues to something, just like people pray to the sun rising and cut someone's head off thinking that it was going to make it a bit better. Like, whatever. I haven't got, this is what I say all the time, I'm not a scientist, but I'm not a fucking idiot either, and there are things there that I can't find the words for, but they become pivotal to your whole existence.
You feel that energy, don't you, from somewhere?
Yeah. And I'm lucky. In the last 10 years, I've pretty much ironed the shit out of my life. The bad people, the negative people. I suffered madly with my mental health because for a lot of time, and I just always put it down to the life I'd led. If you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And if you want to go out living like a lunatic, taking loads of drugs and fucking sleeping one day out of 10 and stuff like, you're going to get bitten. Like,
have you got any lessons from your past?
Oh, I've got so many lessons. Like, if you want to get out your nut, enjoy it, embrace it. Like, it can be magical. I have sat with God and we've talked about shit, and he's told me this, that, and the other. Like, it sounds mad, but like, that's how fucking mad things were at the time. So yeah, it's changed me. It's changed me. Not for the worse, I don't think. I'm a better person than I've ever been. We're all works in progress as anglers, fathers, brothers, sons, whatever. But yeah, shit like that, it makes you a better person.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to live. You have to live. And these days, people are too scared to live.
Yeah. It's getting at that goldfish bowl, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's hard for
a lot of people can't do
the
it.
ocean.
And a lot of people are like, people try and hold you back, and they don't want you to do that. And the cons and all that, you know, back in the days, it was the same. They didn't. I can remember. I said to you when you came to see me down the river, I said like, you know, back in the day, if you had more than 2 knots in your setups, you'd fucking lose your ticket for it. And people are like, no, like a Ronnie rig and all this shit. Now there's about 800 fucking bits of metal, and we call them scaffolding rigs, like rubbish, like, you know. But it just goes to show how perverse it's all become. Like I said to you, carp fishing would be ruined the second you started to click things together. Like Meccano, and that's where it's gone.
Yeah, no, it has a little bit.
Yeah. All the dexterity of tying rigs, being out of casting, a wind under a bush at fucking 100 yards, all gone by the wayside now. Like those anglers, they were fucking anglers, and I like to think I'm an angler, because I fish like that. And now they just pole them out with a camera on it and leave it out there till they start bubbling and just tip it on them, like fucking cheating bastards.
Do you use bait boats or
fuck?
anything? You ever
I've used a bait boat. I find it as soulless as I might as well get you to take my girlfriend to bed and watch you do it. Like, it's so detached. Like, what the fuck? The end result's the same.
You like his analogies.
The end result's the same. But like, you know, you've got there by. It's contentious. You know, I find it fucking disgusting, and I never used to. You know, I was brought up with a simple phrase: you cast them out and you reel them in. Yeah. Now I use a boat, but a boat is another skill set. I've done an awful lot of boat fishing. I've done an awful lot of long range casting, an awful lot of close range fishing. You've got to be everything. And a lot of anglers today are one trick ponies. They fish one style. And if you ask them or try to get them to adapt, they can't do it. And this goes for some of the fucking biggest names. They're charlatans, mate. They're not anglers. They're charlatans. An angler should be able to trot a fucking stick float and be able to set up any rig that you care to mention, fish for any species of fish without a guide, without a fucking video crew of fucking people helping you. You should be able to go and do it. And the joy of angling is doing it.
That's the art form,
and that's what's being lost. I think a lot of it, like, people are lying to themselves. Like, you might as well be at home playing a video game. And yeah, I've used a bait boat when I've needed to. I've got one. I bought one recently because I've got the money. I can buy one. I bought one. And I look at it and think, you cost me over £1,000, you fucker. Look at you. Just a way. All I have to do is charge you up, and I've got 86 batteries to charge. More shit. Fuck that. Go away with a fucking bag of lead, some big ones, some small ones, and a couple of sets of rods, and the world's your oyster, isn't it?
You say you're quite a simple angler then?
Yeah, Yang Porter, my God rest his soul.
This is his tackle box here, by the way.
Is it?
With all his stuff in it, yeah.
Love you, mate. I love Jan, and I love Jan. Do you know why I love Jan? Because he was a simple angler. And even though he was massively respected by the people in the Midlands for his match fishing and that, I thought he was a fucking hopeless noddy. I really did when I first met him. But of course he wasn't. He just didn't care how he was seen. And when I met him, I took him fishing, never caught canal carp. I said, well, we'll fucking sort that out. And when he did that, and he always described me as an instinctive angler. And I always felt really proud about that, but I never quite knew what he meant by it. And I've got a lot to thank Jan for. He sort of set me off on this fucking mad.
You went to Cassian with him, didn't you?
I took him to Cassian.
Yeah.
I took him, caught him his first Cassian carp, and we had I really had a lot of time for Jan.
Was that through your Shimano consult when you were working at Shimano that you?
No,
you got to know
Jan
him?
got me the Shimano gig, and then got me a series in Improve Your Course Fishing, which was the key to it all. Because it doesn't matter who you are, you know. Back then, it had 100,000 readership, which was massive. And I got a series in that, and that was the start of it all. A commercials. I didn't want to do that, but what else was I going to do, Si? Like sell drugs or something.
What did you do before you started getting fishing consult? How were you getting by?
Like everybody else. Like going from one job until the weather came good.
Your dad got you a few jobs, didn't he?
My dad got me lots of jobs, and do you know what? We had some laughs. I used to work on these big building sites, and my dad had worked for the company for years, and the people that worked there respected him massively. So they'd give him, Nick's, Don's boy wants a job, give him a job, and of course I just very quickly rigged it so it was working to my advantage. I remember we built the Crown Courts in Kingston was the last time I worked, and
the last time you worked.
The last time I worked, and this was a long time ago. And of course, in Kingston we had the Thames and the Hogs Mill, which is full of carp. Anyway, one morning this old paddy boy came in. He said, I've seen some massive fish this morning. They're all pissed all the time. So I took it with a pinch of salt. He said they were big blue ones. And when he said blue, I was like, what was that? And I went down there, and they were all there in the Hogs Mill, all these big carp. And I had it sussed. Like, the paddies wanted to go on the piss. So at 2:00 they'd go to lunch, and they never come back. I'd clock them all out. right? Clock them all out, dunk, 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 all of them. And they'd come in the morning, oh, Nick, you're a fucking diamond, so you are. And, all that. And then, so like, I could come in at lunchtime. And they'd clock me in at 7 o'clock.
Brilliant.
So I could stay fishing till literally the very end of bite time, till I was bored. And then I'd go to work. They'd all go to the pub, and then I'd stang around till 4:30, and then clock all them out and go back to the river. So it was like the mafia. Do you know what I mean? It was like Sopranos. We had it all nice tickle, as they used to say. We had them all under manners. It was great.
What did you do? Just work temporarily until you had enough money then, or?
No, well, when you're young, like, you know, it's a bit like girlfriends, easy come, easy go. You'd go for a job and then like, big low pressure next week. You'd be like, well, I'm going fucking fishing. And then you'd be getting you'd have half a dozen phone calls and they'd stop ringing because they'd given up on you. Oh, you obviously ain't coming back to work. So I never used to go back to work. I would go and then lig about for a few more months until I literally couldn't cope anymore, and I'd go and get another job.
Did your dad give you a hard time for that?
Yeah, of course he did, because he was like institutionalised worker.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I told you, like, you are the sum of your parts and all this shit. But like when I'm too old to fish, what am I? I'm going to be institutionalised. If I can't go fishing anymore, I said to you, like the old boys at Shantycock, like you see them out there every day, mate. It's like their life. They all meet up on the slipway. They all sit and have a brandy and a fucking chat. They all go out. The day they can't do it anymore, they get ill, they get old, they go out, they fill their waders up with bricks and they jump over the side of the boat. That's how pragmatic they are about it. Same as in the old days, the sailors and the fishermen used to wear them big thick woolen jumpers, because if they went over the board, they weren't coming back up again. That was part of it. That was part of it. And I can see it being the same for me. What you know, what's it going to be like when old carp anglers have had enough? Do you jump into the extruder and get made into boilies, and then they feed you to the cut? Who fucking knows? But when I'm too old to do it anymore, what will I do? Well, I don't know. I don't like to get too fucking maudlin about your future, and you know, I've been down. I've been to the point of no return, like, and I'm not like that anymore. I've reprogrammed my mind to be as happy as I can be most of the time. And the simplest way to do that is to not give a fuck, and certainly not take any shit off anyone, and you only do what you want to do. That's why this was so hard for me. Not so hard for me to do, but so hard for you to get me to do, because I don't want to do it. I don't need to do it. And I've got nothing to prove.
But I mean, the carp fishing industry's given you a good life as well, hasn't it?
It sort of has, yeah. I've been held back because, you know, like same in the industry. You know, I've been fucked over lots of times by people. I've gone into the office, even at Korda, mentioning no names. I've gone blah blah. Well, you want to do that with that? Turn that way, and then add that to it. I said, you've got a mega product. Next minute, it's so and so really fucking. I said, that's fucking mine. You.
Yeah, oh no.
That's an edit tape. Carry on, mate.
No, you're sorry. There you go. So that wasn't. I really apologise for that. Anyway, yeah. So it's happened to me countless times in the industry. Like, I'm the ideas man. I'm still the ideas man now.
Yeah.
I can reel them out. Like, I stood in the office there a minute ago. Damn, you want to do that? You want to put one of them with that? And you want to do this? And
he remember. Oh, I'm trying to. Can I say remembering? He'd be remembering all of that.
I hope he does.
Yeah.
I hope he does. I like to have an input. Because I feel because you've got to remember, I've done so much different fishing. I see things that even really lifelong carp anglers just don't see. Yeah, my mind, the way my mind works with angling and life, you can apply to anything, I think. If I was a product developer at Korda, I'd be the very best one.
So do you not find that with the consultancies that you've had then? You've not had an awful lot of input with stuff.
You never get input. Like when I was younger and thinner and Shimano and all the model years, like I said, there's no stickers on my buckets. I'm no longer driven by fashion or trends. And like all of the younger scene of carp anglers, the big carp scene, everyone's friendly with everyone, and they've all got stickers on their buckets. And like Tel said to me recently, he said, "You'll like that lake at such and such." He said, "No vass-wearing, tattooed, bearded idiots," he said. And you have to laugh. I mean, sorry, no respect if you've got vass waders there, but I'm talking about, you know, a trend thing. When I was younger, everybody wore the Shimano stuff that I wore. You know, everybody had it. Everybody.
Yeah, tribal stuff.
Everybody. Because it was different and it was new and it was trendy. And yeah, I get it. But I ain't trendy anymore, and I'm too old to be trendy, and really I can't be arsed with it. Like, I can't be arsed with the silliness of it all. The stuff that's still relevant is relevant, and the stuff that's still important is still just as important. But all the details are details nowadays. I we spoke loads about mental health and that, and the current scene and social media, and the fact that it's just fucking static because everybody's throwing everything out there all the time, and it's just awash with big carp and great pictures and mad scenery, and everybody wants to be a Nick Helleur, and everybody wants to go adventuring, and everybody wants to do what Nick does, and everybody is trying to do that now, but they do it at the expense of you, and they do it off your back. And it's always been the same. You know, I saw Rod Hutchinson, those first pictures of the 20 Canal with the barges and the rods up, and like, it was so unlike anything I'd seen before. I was like fucking mesmerised, you know what I mean? Not just mesmerised, at 15 I was there the next year, driving my girlfriend's car around Holland, never even had a driving licence at 15, like smoking weed and drinking beer and just thinking, this is fucking brilliant, I'm having more, and like just, you just get bit carried away with it all, didn't you? And that's what happens. That's what happens. And then boom, you're 50 and you've divorced and you fucking and you've got kids.
But companies still want you though, Nick, don't they? I mean, you know, there's never been a danger that, you know, you're not going to get work through the industry, has there?
I've tried to yeah, I mean, a lot of, when it became commercial, listen, all I wanted to go fishing. I never wanted to be sponsored. I never wanted to be the big I am. I never wanted people to ask my autograph. I've had people who had my name tattooed on them and stuff like that. And
really?
Like, I remember when I first dated my new wife, like, and I said to her, I bet I'm the only man that you know that's got his name tattooed on other men, and that. And she was like, what the fuck? And like, I showed her pictures and she was like, like, fishing's fucking weird, and like just trying to get across the level of passion and feeling that fishing can evoke in people. And like I said, it's a sum of its parts. Half of it's spiritual because of the sun and the water and being outside and the stars, but moreover, a lot of it's how it makes you feel. And men don't talk about feelings. Like, but as an angler, I can talk about feelings without sounding gay or fucking a little bit being seen as some sort of Nancy. It's different now, you know. It wasn't like that, but it is now. So I'm, even though everybody's trying to do what I've been doing for the last 30 years now, I'm still relevant because I keep it real, I guess. And moreover, I keep it varied. So, and that's not for you or for him or for any other fucker like that. I keep it like that because it's for me. Like, if I don't keep it varied and different, like, then you're just going to curl up and die in the end, aren't you? And moreover, that leads into other avenues now of different fishing. You know, I'm not just looking at fishing for big carp and barbel and big roach and rudd and perch and stuff in the UK, because, like, the pool of opportunity for an angler like me is so fucking small now. Like, anything I even talk about, like, even between my friends and I, we know that the second that we're seen there, or even write about stuff and so, but even being seen there is the death knell, and that I find that difficult to deal. I'd love to have gone out on my boat this year. I really love being on the Thames. I love, even as someone that enjoys a massive amount of freedom, there's something fucking magical about that river, and it goes beyond magical. It's spiritual, but being on a boat on the water is an aspect that even I've never experienced before, like staying on the water and being self-contained and away from everyone else, and no one can talk to you unless you want them to talk to you. All these little things, like, it's all very different, but stuff like that is what keeps me going. Different stuff. And even now, like, I've just come back from France, and then 2 weeks before that I was in France and Belgium, and like, even though everyone else is, lockdown's finished the world, I'm like, listen, I don't give 2 fucks about it. I'm going regardless.
Right.
Like, I don't see anyone. I don't speak to anyone. I take my food with me. I'm no risk to anyone. I just crack on and just keep my head down. Nothing changes for me.
You talked about the river. I mean, obviously reflections with the, with the 50-pounder and stuff like that. Do you think that's changed things on the river a little bit now?
Yeah, of course it has. Like, what you got to remember on the river is you get, it's not, the really serious carp anglers aren't the problem. It's everybody. Like, lockdown's changed an awful lot of people. Like, they've been stuck at home with their families, and it's a lot of people have gone fishing on the river that have never been fishing before, let alone, like, just because lockdown's changed their mindset. And I keep on about, I'm always talking about mindset, and mindset is the key to everything. Like, it's the mindset is that I get up at 3 o'clock every morning in agony from my back. I can barely breathe when I wake up. But, like, I could get very easily slip into a dark depression and start fucking smoking heroin and fucking be dead in 2 minutes.
I mean, you can go completely the opposite way, can't it? Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
But I've managed to train myself that even when things aren't great, that you make them great. And if things are really bad, then you go and do stuff that makes you feel better.
How much did you enjoy making that film?
I didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't want to do it. They wanted to do it, and, like, they pay me. and they make my life easier. And I pick up the phone and I can order 1,000 kilos of bait a day if I wanted to. I don't, and it's been the same since going back to Dynamite. Like, when you can have everything you want, you don't take hardly anything.
Don't you look back at that film and think that just looks beautiful?
No, because it was turd polishing. Like I say to people, everybody says the same thing to me. I've had thousands of messages, and I've replied to pretty much all of them now, and said, like, I'm really quite humble and thank you for the things, the nice thing. But ultimately, you know, it ain't me. It's the filmmaker. They're the turd polishers. They're the ones that have taken the beautiful shots. They're the ones that have edited together. All the people that you don't even know their names. Like, the success of Reflections is because of them, not because of me. You can fucking get a train of rats to fucking make a wheel go round, can't you, and film him, like, you know, and then make it look beautiful. Like, it's not the rats fucking doing. It's the people that have shot it and edited it. And not enough respect goes out to them. The lads, like my vlogs, like, I am a Joey. Do you know what I mean? They give me a camera and I wander about France stoned and drinking red wine like a lunatic. And then I come back with a load of little shots of nothing because the camera's wobbly or it's out of focus, and they make it into something that looks really good. And I think I went up there. I'd never met them before, but of course they fit because they edit my stuff. It's like they're my best mates, you know. Yeah. And instantly I got on with them on that level because they see me, the real me, and how they perceive and how they juggle it and edit it is down to them, not me.
Has that changed since that Thames video then?
Yeah, the Thames has been very busy. Not just, I mean, mine.
But sorry, the way it was filmed and the way it looks, because now, like you say, a lot of the stuff we see with you now is it's raw, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm shooting that. Yeah. Not the Golden Boys. Like, this is Joey here shooting that, and they're polishing that turd a bit.
Were you complying more with them beforehand? Is it have you gradually got your own way with this?
In what respect?
With how the film actually looks.
No, I don't have any input into how the film looks. You got to remember, out of all that film, they only came out to me a couple of times. Like, if that was me making a film, because I'm obsessive, I would have had them out 50 times, and like it would have been like a seminal work of, because I'm a perfectionist. But it's not down to me to be the perfectionist, it's down to them. So how they perceive it and how they want to show it, that's down to them, it's not me. So for all the good that came of that and all the praise and all what a fantastic film, the praise belongs
Were you trying to create a narrative making that film? I mean,
no,
you were going to catch this?
No, I knew I was going to catch it because I've told you. Like, I've been doing this my whole life. Like, if you apply yourself in the modern world of carp fishing, it's all there on fucking black. Anyone can do what I do now. Like, the skill set's gone. Everybody's on a level pegging. It's only years of experience that make the difference. And that's a very small difference a lot of the time. So, yeah, all of the props for all of that and the way it was filmed and that goes to Richard Stewart, Dan Wildboar, and Andy and Steve, the editors up at Sticky Baits, because they're the ones that have done an amazing job. I was just a fucking bloke in a boat.
But
pissed,
when you caught
pissed, firing boilies everywhere and charging around like a lunatic.
You make it. I know it was great. I loved it.
A lot of people love it. Love it.
Great.
Like, I've had anglers say to me, Nick, it's the best piece of angling film I've ever seen. Like, good anglers, people that I've absolute respect for. And I'm like, I'll pass that on to Rich and Dana, because it's not, you know.
No, that's
like, I was always going to catch that fish. It was a fucking giant in a bit of river.
Do you know what fish we're talking about, Tobe?
I don't know.
We will put a picture out because it's one of the best looking.
Yeah, it was.
One of the best
really,
looking carp
it was.
Anyway. We'll have to watch it though.
It was a magical result. I mean, it's hard to. But I was talking to Damo earlier in the office, and I said, like, you know, if it wouldn't matter if it was me, him, you, Toby. Like, if you would have had, I had many years of living this fucking Peter Pan, Huckleberry Finn, millionaire lifestyle on nothing. I've had nothing. I've done it on nothing because I've never worked. Or if I have, like, people have got the wrong impression. My mate Mick Murray, who was in France, oh, your mate Nick Helleur. Oh, yeah, apparently he's a fucking secret multi-millionaire. His dad owned a huge company and he died and left it all to him. And he was seen last week. He's got a lovely Ferrari, fucking whatever. And, like, Mick was like, look, mate, I know Nick. I've known him for a long time. He hasn't got a pot to piss in. And they wouldn't have it. They would not. No. Like, I don't care what you say. Like, we know what the crack is. People don't have it. People's perception of you is so fucking skewed. I have it all the time. Oh, you know, I've always had this impression of you. Now I've spoken to you, you're not like that at all. And I say, well, that's just the modern world. Like, you know,
You've got to be a certain type of character for people to want to kind of elevate you into something more as well, though, haven't you? There are certain people
I
that
think,
seem
listen,
to get that.
if you live the lifestyle that I've led around the characters that I grew up around, you can't help but become a character yourself, because, like, not through trying to be something bigger or brighter, but just the life you've led. Like, you are a sum of total of the experiences that you've had, and I've pushed myself to the very fucking edge of everything. That's drugs, that's fishing, that's fucking staying up, not going to bed, that's like driving without pulling over. Everything I've just pushed it to the fucking absolute outside of
Are you
the
surprised
envelope.
you've got away with it?
Really surprised. Well, I haven't got away with it, as you can see. I'm absolutely hat stand. But most people that are like this, you know, look at all the real characters that you've had in this thing. I mean, I've not seen any of the podcasts, but you've had quite a few friends of mine in that are genuinely good characters and fantastic anglers. But that doesn't always translate to them being fantastic to watch or listen to. And that's why when you watch angling films, like, a lot of the very best anglers are fucking terrible in front of a camera. Fucking charisma bypass, monotone voice. I'm not going to mention any names, but fuck me, come on.
None of those have been on this show. have
Yeah,
they?
there's been fucking loads of them. I don't know, because honestly, I don't know who you've had before.
Yeah, but,
Like,
yeah.
the only one I know definitely about was because Oz Holness did it. Now, Oz, same age as me, lived a very similar life, I would imagine. Done an awful lot of fishing, very respected angler, much calmer and more sedate than me.
Worldly guy as well.
Worldly guy, spiritual guy, but vastly different to me. But I have huge respect for him because he's done what I've done. He's lived that life his whole life. So I have great respect for, not for my peers necessarily, because a lot of the people that were perceived as being the very best anglers in the world were fucking useless. Like, some of the very best big fish anglers that this country's ever produced, that have got fucking countless books and credits to their name, and you know, the fucking rubbish anglers, but they had that mindset of determination that I admire, you know. And I grew up around lots of them, so I think I can, you know, where most people go, you can't make that assumption, I fucking can, because I fished next to them for years.
Yeah.
All of them. You name any name. And very, very few of them have impressed me. I learnt an awful lot from a very few amount of people. Yet I've sat beside fucking thousands of people. Most of them, I can't even remember their names. I wouldn't recognise them.
Who are the best ones for you then, that you've personally...
Yeah,
you
but
said Bill
it
Quinlan.
wasn't just angling ability. It was character, ethos, like the way they conducted themselves, you know, whether they might have been loud in the pub, like, but whatever. There's been, I've learnt, I would have said, I mean, much of my learning I did by myself because I had no option. I didn't have books and magazines to read. I had to fucking make it up as I went along, and got it wrong more often than I got it right. But I grew up around certain people that shaped my fishing. Quite a few of those people weren't friends of mine. Didn't want anything to do with me as a kid. Give me very short shrift, but I watched them and I learnt a fucking lot from them. And surprisingly small amount of people. Kerry Barringer,
I was just thinking the brothers, yeah.
the brothers.
without
Lee,
doubt.
I grew up fishing with Lee. Not so much Kerry, because he was like Savay and that about the time I was really serious.
Yeah.
But James McCullum, Lee Barringer, Kerry Barringer, Paul Klinkenborg, Ian Brown, all those early anglers in the Colne Valley where I lived. You got to remember, I caught my first fish meal, homemade fish meal, caught carp in '86. Caught my first 20-pounder in '82. Like, I've been carp fishing a fucking long time, but I've learned an awful lot off a very small amount of people.
What was it about those guys? Especially I've never met Kerry, actually.
Listen, Kerry and Lee were twin brothers. They were both out the same mould, different but the same, quiet, quite quirky characters. Like,
do you think it's the quietness and the mystery as well?
No, because I'm not romantic in that respect. I don't look at anglers with a romantic view, thinking, oh, you know, they fish Savay at the. Well, I was there alongside them, so I can't have that for a start. But it was just, they were fucking better. They were better. Like, I've known anglers, like I have known the very best. I fished with the very, very best. Very few of them have ever impressed me. A few of them I've actually, but I've never felt envy for any of them. But Jeff Rendell was one that really shaped my fishing. I can remember being terrified in the middle of the night and hearing someone walking past up a muddy path and thinking, who the fuck? And it was always Jeff Rendell moving on the fish. Like, this is in the 80s when people didn't move at night anyway, let alone moving on to fish in the middle of the night. Those boys, just by being around them, even though they wanted nothing to do with me on any level, I learnt so much. So much.
And you said that's what you'll be doing tonight as well, eh? You spent a lot of time creeping around lakes, Nick, in the middle of the night.
Yeah, and like I said to you, a lot of it's nowadays is because one, there's no stickers on my bucket smush. You know, I don't need any more mates. I'm certainly not trying to impress anyone. I haven't got any, like, all the local kids to impress, and I feel sorry for a lot of the young anglers today because they're sort of being forced down a road that it's not real. It's not real on any, there's nothing about it adds up. Just go fucking fishing. Enjoy the people that you're around. If you don't enjoy the people you're around, go and fish somewhere else. If you don't like the fishing that's going on there, go and find a bit of fishing that you do like. All of that's not going on at the moment. It's just trendy, in the loop, like he's mates of him and they're all fucking, and everyone's worried about their rep and their affirmation online. And I really am worried for the modern anglers that most of these fuckers, they ain't going to be here in 5 or 10 years. They will long have blown out. They will have got the shit of it and taken up golf or fucked off and got some bird.
Why don't you think you've blown out of fishing? Because you do so much of it.
Yeah, because I keep it varied.
Because you do everything that those guys want to do.
If I had the same girlfriend forever when I was a kid, I would have been boring, and like I had like variety is the spice of life. Whether it's women, drugs, sex, fishing, fucking cars, whatever. The more of everything you get, the better it is. Some people can't maintain some decorum or some order when they get too much of everything. I was one of those people. But I also found in fishing especially, as in, like I told you, the older I've got, the more reflective I've got, for starters, certainly. But everything runs parallel. And I said one thing in the boat thing, and I was holding back the tears as I said it, and that is the key to it all is just having a little bit of faith that we'll all be all right in the end.
Yeah.
And most people can't do that. I still feel emotional about it now. Like when you get to that point where you have a command over yourself and your destiny, without being too dramatic, like it's a fucking powerful thing.
When did you realise that you've got more control?
Oh, do you know what? I live in the dream. And do you know why I live the dream? Because I fucking got divorced. Divorce was the best thing that ever happened to me.
I bet you were expecting that, were you?
It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Since then, I have literally just evolved into this fucking magical unicorn that fucking prances around freely, fucking having a lovely time. I just have the loveliest time. And do you know why I have a lovely time? I told you, because I only do what I want to do. And most people in this world spend 90% of their time doing things they don't want to do.
Well, you tell yourself you're going to have a nice time, and a lot of people don't necessarily do that, do they? Some people, it's a bit doom and gloom all the time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think more than 70% of the people I know are in a relationship or in a job or in a life that they don't fucking want a bit of it. They don't know how to get out of it, and they don't know how to rectify it, and they haven't got as you get older, you fear change. Like when you're young, like, change means nothing to you. Like, it never meant anything to me, but as you get older you fear change. You get married, the thought of being divorced and having to start again and perhaps losing your home and your kids, and like, it's a fucking sobering thought, let me tell you. And all those things have happened to me. I've had to fight in court to get my daughter back for no fucking good reason. Like, I've been subjected to fucking the most vile behaviour just through people jealous and fucking not understanding and just being deceitful. And I think another thing is, like, when you live a Peter Pan existence like I have, where I do what they call, my friends either call me Super Nick, or I get lots of, or fucking, they call him, what do they call me now? Like Riley, of Life of Riley, or Peter Pan, or I get called lots of weird stuff. But that hasn't come about by chance. Like, I fucking orchestrated that. I put myself in a position to go and put a boat on the river and have enough money around me to stop that boat and to do this and to do that at my will. I do what I want when I want to do it. I never used to do like that. I had a child and I was married, I had a mortgage, and like when they were asleep, I used to stay up all night writing articles and then go off fishing all week to try and earn the money to get the mortgage paid. you do what you need to do, I guess.
Do you see parallels with like just drifting off down the river on the boat and going off to Europe on your own and just taking off? Is it the same sort of thing?
Yeah.
That it's just getting away from everything.
No, it's just doing what you need to do. I mean, it was the same thing.
Are you speaking to other people a lot while you're out on this?
No. I mean, historically, I've always tried to keep away from the French because I don't speak French. I don't think people realise the early explorers, the Dutch that explored the world. They did it in a wooden boat with a fucking canvas sail in huge weather, and they had barrels of fucking apples in water, and they lived on a fucking wing and a prayer. And I lived on a wing and a prayer going, it was different for my European friends. They don't cross, you don't even notice a border. You're just going for a drive and fishing somewhere else where they don't speak the same language. But for us, we had to cross the sea, and it was always such a fucking big thing to me. And we never had a credit card, we never had any money. We had the money we had in our pockets. If my car broke down 1,000 miles from home, I was royally fucked. Luckily,
didn't you say you all used to pour your money together?
Yeah,
and,
but we had a bit of faith that it would all be, it'd be all right, and it always was all right. Sometimes it weren't all right, but most of the time it was. And this is what I want to try and get. As much as I didn't want to do this, I wanted to give certainly some of the younger kids looking at this a bit of benefit of my experience, whether they are prepared, ready, or want to take it on or not. Because I have fucking been pushed to the edge of reason. I've almost taken my own life. I've fucking struggled with so many issues because of the things I've done to myself. I'm a product. Everything about me is my own doing and my own undoing. So I just wanted to let people know, it is going to be all right. It doesn't matter if you don't have to go targeting fucking 50 pounders. It means nothing these days. You're not just seeing the best of what the English lads are catching. You're seeing the best of the German lads, the Dutch, the French, the fucking Croatian. It's just overkill now. And I said to you the other day, if you watch porn every day, constantly, in the end you wouldn't even be able to get hard on, because you're so fucking exposed to it. It just has ruined you. And that's it. Like, if you've never seen a girl before and you get a sniff of a bird, it's a very exciting thing, as we know. And carp fishing should be the same. It's only not the same if you fucking destroy it by your own doing. So understand that I understand all the young kids have got something to prove. But what are you trying to prove? That you can catch a carp? You can catch an animal that eats its own shit. Well done, you. Because after fucking 40 years of doing this, I can turn around and see it for what it is. It's fucking fishing. It should be enjoyable. You should be having a barbecue. And that's where I'm at now. We have ribeye steaks, and we have a nice bottle of Corbières, and we have a joint.
You like your glass of wine?
I'm coming fishing with you, Nick.
Yeah, you mate.
You're more than welcome.
You'd love it.
Oh,
and that's it. I think a lot of the people that I take fishing that really love it are not fishermen. And the anglers, they're all too fucking obsessed with Ronnie rigs and being a dick and fishing badly. Everything's got better in carp fishing except the anglers. What's actually happened is the angling's got worse. And I fucking struggle with that because I've spent my entire life trying to better myself at what I do. So I see, when I see the modern stuff, I just see them focusing on stuff that they shouldn't be focusing on. And mental health is running riot amongst the younger lads. They're desperate. But desperate for what? It's fair enough. If you want to come and work at a big company like Korda, that's an aspiration. That's your... If you want to do that, good luck to you. But just understand that fishing should be, first and foremost, about friends, enjoyment, fun, and how it makes you feel. If it makes you feel fantastic and you wake up in the morning with tears in your eyes because the dawn's so beautiful, and you look at a carp and wonder, I still look at them now in wonder. Fucking hell, look at you, you most incredible thing. And if it doesn't make you feel like that and you can't get to that thing, you fucking do something else. Because you're just fucking shitting on something that's magical. And that's where it's at.
Fishing wise as well, though, there is something that motivates you with the actual fishing as well. What's the sort of criteria for that nowadays for you then?
Ooh.
Is it going off on the river or being in Europe?
It's just, do you know what it is? It's being left, I get in the car now, I drive 1,000 miles. People don't seem to understand. 5 tanks of juice, 6, 10 tanks of juice, average trips, £100 a tank, £200 for your crossing, plus like your tolls. Like before I even get out the car at Casein, I've done £1,000 before I even get out the car, which is to most people means fuck all. But £1,000 to me is a lot of money. For £1,000, I can go to Belgium for fucking months, literally months.
It's not Casein though, is it?
Yeah, but it's as good or as enjoyable. This is just, the destination. I told you, it's not the destination. It's how you get to that destination. That's the magic. That's the magical part of it. So the big drives, the disappointment when you get there and there's fucking loads of Belgians that know your name when you get out of the car, and that I'm struggling with. But I just reassess my, I know I'm not going to catch 100-pounders. There's most of the blokes who work here at Korda, kids that have been fishing 5 years, have probably caught more big carp than me because they go to a Tang Desmunga. I don't do that shit. That's not what I want. I don't go to brothels and shag prostitutes. I don't need to do that. I go out and get myself a real woman. That's I know it's coarse, and I know and my analogies are not always the best, but I get my point across, don't I? Like those fucking lakes where you pay and you go, they're brothels. They're carp brothels. Like there is no skill in catching those fuckers. They're starving. And I find it distasteful. They're held prisoner for your pleasure, and you're paying for the right to abuse them and stick fucking sharp things in them. I'm sorry, I don't get that anymore.
Now you've explained that analogy's perfect, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Actually,
carp brothels.
Yeah.
It's like we say about the people back fishing in England. It's like we occasionally go back to the battery farm, to the battery hens.
Yeah, because
they don't know they're battery hens. They don't know they're battery hens, that they live in the dark in a fucking little cage. They think that's life. It's not until you let them out into the field that they realise there's more out there. And that's the same with fishing.
It's finding it though, isn't it? Is that must be getting more difficult.
Finding
as well.
it, I'll be honest, like I said, you have to reassess what you fish for. I quite happily fish on a quiet little bit of river somewhere for 20-pounders in France, where there's no fucker around me and I can do what I need to do. And if a real big one comes along, then I'm as happy as a sandboy. But it's not about a big one. It's not going to make the trip any more or any less enjoyable. Like what I've done to get to that point is what makes it enjoyable. And that's what I try and instill in people. I want to be aspirational to youngsters. I don't want to be a foul-mouthed fucking layabout. I don't consider myself like a lot of people would say you were. All I want to instill in the kids is like just try and do it the right way. It was instilled in me. Like you cast them out, you reel them in. Once you walk away from that, it's not enjoyable anymore. Like now everyone's got a fucking pole with a camera on it. Oh, fuck off, will ya? Like really? Like you give me a pole with a camera on it, I'd catch them all in a fucking week. Like with no enjoyment at all. Like. And this is the same thing. I use a bait bar. I used one this year. It was so hot I couldn't spom. It was too hot to put the bait out, so we just kept sending it out in a boat. It was the most soulless, boring fucking thing I've ever done. You put it out, you sit, oh, for fuck's sake, wind that fucker in. And then that one will go, and then that one will go, and then you have to do it all again. And like, come on, how many carp do you want to catch?
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Fishing used to be about catching a carp. Now it's like 2 nets, 3 nets, out sacks and all these fucking retaining like suffocators in the edge. Like, come on. Like, we're losing sight of it a bit here.
But there are some lakes that you keep getting pulled back to, like Cassian. You've got your Belgium syndicate.
Yeah. I mean, these are places that fucking touch your soul. These are not just any old fishing. Casing's fucked. It's 20 years past its, not even its best, just past dealable with. Like, there's so many catfish in there now, it's a dying lake. Like, the fish are fucking in terrible state. They're out of condition for most of the time. The restrictions are many. It's just, but casing's magical.
Keep going back
I'd keep going back there if there was no fucking carp in their side.
Yeah.
Like, because of the place. It's got nothing to do with the rest of it. But I would love to see, as you get older, you get a little bit more political. I've always tried not to be political, but I would love to be able to make a difference somewhere like that. To get it stocked and see it fucking resurrected.
They never? Did I hear that it was being restocked, or they've never done that then?
No. I mean, there was a French bloke called Gerard that used to run and he was involved with the AA, the local fishing association, and he was the one that did it all. He got the lake stocked and
right.
But since he's gone, the truth is they don't want anglers there. Because they're just, it's a fucking tourist place and they don't really want you there, and that's the truth of it. So they're never going to do anything to fishing. They don't want you night fishing. It's a forest fire area. It's dangerous at the best of times to have people there unsupervised, and they just don't want it anymore. You can see that because they've let it go. And now it's full of catfish, and they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the carp are getting fewer and fewer and fewer. And I've got pictures of, I think, probably every carp in that lake, and there ain't that many. There ain't that many.
Are there other venues that you go there? They've got a similar atmosphere to that.
Yeah, I found loads of them. I found like there's a couple of pictures you'll see on the internet of me with the massive mountains behind me. We were fishing right up below Mont Blanc, up in valleys that no fucker had ever gone looking for carp, because that's how far I've been forced to go for something magical. And it was magical fishing. I went there with Mick Murray for a couple of trips. I took my mate Ollie there, good friends. I ain't going to just tell anyone about it. But unfortunately, we talked about this as well the other day, like now, because of the size it's become, people are trading on other people's information. One, to be seen that they know something, or like, I'm in the know because I know where Nick Helleur's fishing and I know this. But what they don't realise is like, the shelf life of everything is fucking so short now. So, and I'm also very guilty of it, by putting pictures of me in, putting a fish back with these massive vistas behind me and beautiful carp. Like, people want a bit of it. And now with Google Earth and not much of a clue, you can find out everything pretty quickly. And plus, lots of people are trading on your information, selling your information to other bait companies and stuff like that. All that shit's going on now. And the second that all started happening, I'll be honest, I thought the clock was ticking for me. I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. But the truth is, I've just got to go further afield. So America, it's got to be America.
Yeah.
It's big. It's free.
Whereabouts?
Everywhere.
All over.
I first fished in America
I saw it in the book, the Canada and stuff
Canada,
as well.
early 90s.
Yeah, really
early
young,
90s.
yeah.
I did 8 weeks and then another trip of 6 weeks. And I fished a lot of, not say Northern America, I fished a fair bit in New York State and most of Canada. But for my 50th next year, I think Sue and I are I'm going to fish a few of the chain of big lakes southeast of the United States, drive across the Mississippi, fish down through Texas, and drive to Mexico City.
No, there's so much. There's so much. We've had guests on the show before that've talked about the States, and it's just
but no one's done it.
Yeah,
and it's the easiest one. I get on a fucking plane. There's no bullshit, no visas and shit like that. I can get a flight there in 7 or 8 hours. I can rent a car for a month for fucking buttons. Petrol's cheap, food's cheap, fishing's cheap. There's no carp anglers and no fucking drama.
The States is a wild adventure as well, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the whole
it's going to, it's going to kick off when I go out. It's going to be brilliant. But I just can't wait. I was going to go to Dale with Sue and get a houseboat. We wanted to go spring break and film there. So spring break, you have like 1,000 houseboats up one big arm of the lake, all having massive on the lake raves, fucking thousands, and we were going to be amongst the whole lot with the rods out catching. It will be awesome. Topless birds and beer and surfboards and jet ski. It will be awesome. And we would have done it already, but COVID put play to that a bit. So we're hopeful that next year, I think a small sticky team is going to be
that'll be cool.
It'd be amazing. It'd be amazing, and that's the next step. I love what's become vitally important to me for fishing is a new vista, and I've said it loads of times. I love a new vista. I like going on the boat and just fucking driving up a stretch and thinking, "God, it looks real good there," and like setting up and then like I know the sun's going to rise there, and just getting up at 4 o'clock and I sit there and roll me fucking joint. I have a puff and make a coffee and sit there, and the world comes to life, and I am the happiest man in it. And you can't put a price on that, because if I won £1 billion tomorrow, what would I be doing? Exactly fucking what I'm doing now. Exactly, just in a Porsche. just in a Porsche with a 25-year-old supermodel next to me, probably.
But you said about New Zealand as well, didn't you? You might end up in New Zealand.
Yeah,
possibly?
The plan is. I mean, look, this is another thing. Like, my life went from fantastic to fucking desolate, back to fantastic. And that's the other thing about I wanted to really just get across to everybody, especially the young anglers. Like, it's like, where you are now is not where you will end up. I know it's a saying often used, but it's very true. Do not fear change. If it ain't right, don't stick with something. Don't fish somewhere. Don't hang around with people that fucking don't encourage you or make your fishing better. Like, because you will only get to our age and then think everything changes, and you start to take some control of your life. Take control now. Do what's right for you. If you think, I fucking really like to drive across America and go fishing, fucking do it. Because life is fleeting. and it's short. And I'd never lost anybody, never had any trauma, never had any problems, done what the fuck I like from the minute I got born to the minute they put me in the box, I should think. And I just think that a lot of people spend too much time fearful of, oh yeah, but if I do that, what if I lose my job? What if I can't come back to my rented flat and my fucking miserable girlfriend? Who gives a fuck? Honestly, listen to your Uncle Nick, because I am not going to bullshit you. Life is short. If you want to go fishing and fucking smoke cigars all day and fucking wear flip-flops and a big straw hat, you fucking crack on, my son. Because, like, before you know it, something will happen in your life and you'll wish that you'd done all the things that you said you'd always do but never did. And I'm not living proof, because I've always done exactly as I please, but I'm here to tell you that, you know, don't question. If something doesn't feel right in your life and in your angling, and you don't think that you're going in the direction that you should be going in, listen to yourself. Like, you know, you're never wrong. If you have a gut feeling about something, believe it, trust in it, because, like, there will be nothing in this life that will be as sure as what your stomach is telling you. If your gut feeling is that you should be doing something you're not doing, well, then you need to do it.
Yeah. There's a bit of wisdom underneath that exterior, Nick, isn't there?
There's a fucking lot of wisdom.
Yeah.
I just can't get it all out because I'm not very good with words. I'm actually,
You're very good with words.
No, I think if I went away and can think about stuff and write it down, then yeah, I can get anything across. But when I'm just talking like this and it's all starting to come out, it's very difficult to get out exactly what I want to get out.
No, but it's interesting. People can relate to. Pull the mic up.
So warm.
We're gonna wrap it up soon anyway.
Why?
You want to carry on talking?
We've only just started, didn't we? How long have we been going?
I said we're going to get the whiskey out next.
We're gonna get the whiskey out.
Yeah.
I've got to drive, but I'll quite gladly have a whiskey.
Go. Where's the
there's
whiskey
lots, mate.
cabinet there, Tobe?
Yeah.
I'm really hot because I'm an outdoorsman, and being indoors is like literally like a living hell for me. I really struggle with it. Sweating like a madman. I don't sweat normally.
I don't feel it in here actually.
Yeah, because you're cauterized, didn't you?
Well,
You're in the corporate world.
freezing over it.
Yeah.
They dip you in some antifreeze or something, and then you're just like, but like I can't do it.
Sound a bit sterile, don't we?
Yeah, well, it is, and it's Korda in Basildon of all fucking places. Like even driving here, I could feel my soul like getting deeper, hiding away inside me. It's Essex.
Is it that bad?
Yeah, for me it is. I told you, I can do anything. I don't fear anyone. I'm scared of nothing. I've been galvanised by the stuff that's happened to me to such an extent. Like, no wonder they call me Super Nick. That's not because I'm magically good at it. It's because I'm fucking super. Like, I can't be killed, and I've galvanised to fucking trauma because of the shit that's gone on in my life.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But I like
But you said you were quite anxious coming in and doing this sort of thing.
Yeah,
because you're in an alien sort of environment here.
it's not under my control. And
It's
I
under
think
your control at the moment.
yeah,
I'm
of
just
course it
listening
is.
to you.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
But like, that's because I fucking took control. I took your spot because I
that's
like
true,
the
to
camera on
be
my
fair.
left.
Yeah,
He took
yeah.
your spot in about the first 2 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. I'm
No-
not gonna-
no headphones.
I won't be told. I'm certainly not going to wear headphones. I'm not a fucking air traffic controller, am I? And that's pretty much all there is to it. Like, I won't be. I didn't want to do this. I'd like to impart. Wisdom's not the right word. I'd like to impart a few things to people that hopefully they can pick up on. What can we talk about? Because we haven't really talked about fishing, have we?
No.
We've talked about ethos. We've talked about spirituality. We've talked about how fishing should make you feel. But no one talks about how fishing should make you feel. Like, I still feel
But I like doing
emotional.
shows like this, Nick, where we don't always have to. We're going to have anglers listening to this show, and they're going to relate to you no matter what you say. So it doesn't necessarily always need to go into too much high-tech fishing. I mean, we have.
Yeah, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in talking about. I said to Damo earlier, I would like. There's a few. Oh my god, I'm so hot. I'm literally burning up in here. There's a few things I would like to talk about because people don't seem to be talking about it. Like, fishing's great. It's moving in a great direction. It sustains this massive industry now, which is brilliant. Enables an absolute half-wit norser like me to make a living, which is brilliant. I've got to be greatly thankful for that. But we're losing sight of why we should be doing it or how we should be doing it. Now I use a packet of hooks. I still use Korda hooks. I use other hooks that I'm sponsored by. I use Thinking Anglers hooks. I use this, that, and the other. But I use stuff because they're fucking good. I use things because they're good. I see a lot of these kids now sharpening hooks. I just went to France with a friend of mine who I've been trying to mentor. He's got like terrible cocaine addiction, and he's only young. And like, because I've lived a very hedonistic lifestyle, you know, I'm very lucky that I'm still here for lots of reasons. So I've got a few young friends that are just fucking killing themselves at a rate that even I fucking marvel at. So I'm trying to mentor them and to show them that there's more to life than sitting with your friends down the lake sniffing cocaine all night or whatever. And the way that a lot of these kids fish, it's just not thought out anymore. I use a hook out of a packet. It don't get no sharper. I've been fishing so long I can touch a hook on my skin. That's all I need to do is touch it. I know exactly how sharp it is. But now they're sharpening them. And what you're doing is you're making a point that goes into a fish's mouth and holds there. And you reel it in and that hook's in there and you pop it out. That's it. It leaves no hole, no mark, no nothing. Very little bruising. They're sharpening the edges of the hooks, the backs of the hooks. You're making it like a fucking knife. And you might as well stab that carp in the mouth and wiggle that knife around because every carp they land is destroyed.
Do you think we'll land it so we're not catching more carp nowadays
No.
sharp
No,
hooks?
all you're doing, it's a folly. It's a folly.
Because if we went back 25, 30 years, I mean, the hooks were pretty terrible by today's standards.
Yeah, well, that was different. But you'd hone a point onto a hook, not make a cutting edge. So, like, and like every carp my friend caught when I was in France, like, every one mine caught, they were seated beautifully. I'm playing them hard. They're warm water. The fish are fighting really hard. Got every line on, every kit. Like, not one of my hooks had moved, not even a millimetre. Every single carp that kid caught that I took with me was like someone had stabbed a knife into it and like just cut its mouth to pieces. No, I don't see that as being acceptable. I don't see. And if I can say to people like you're going the wrong way of it, then I want to be able to say that. And it's the same with these fucking retaining slings. You know, I use them because it's seen okay to use them, but you're suffocating them. You put them in the edge, in the upper layers, you're suffocating them. Yeah, they look great. They all look pink and purple. Why do you think they look pink and purple? If I put a fucking plastic bag over your head for a couple of minutes, you'd go pink and purple too.
I'd rather use a landing net.
Yeah, they darken off. They darken off equally
They do,
quickly.
and you know they don't need.
You do, like, just have a little bit of. Carp have become a commodity, and when they were almost like deities in their own right, you know, and we've lost that magic. Like a carp has become a commodity to use to make money, and I really struggle with that. I never would have done when I was younger, but I do now. I see it for what it is. I just think, you know, all this massive industry around what we do, and it just seems that the carp are the last thing. Like, they're the very first thing, but also the last thing, and like I struggle with that. So I'd like to say to the kids, like, you don't need to be sharpening hooks. Terry Earn don't sharpen hooks. I don't sharpen hooks. In fact, I think it's a disadvantage to sharpen an hook to me. Somebody that's very good at it, you've got people that do it professionally, Jason Hayward and a few other anglers that are very long in the tooth, established old hand anglers, sharpen them probably in such a way that they're very good without being dangerous. But a lot of the people I see sharpening hooks, like, there's loads of carp with bits of fucking metal stuck in their mouth where they've snapped off, where they've been playing them, and like, just let's have a little bit more thought for the carp itself, because that seems to be falling by the wayside, and that really concerns me.
Yeah.
Not because I'm a conservationist or any great, you know, let's be honest, I put hooks in them just the same as everyone else and drag them out and suffocate them and for my own amusement. But as I get older, I start to struggle with that. So, yeah, and it's not going to stop me doing it. I'm always going to fish for fish, and but I try and do it with a little bit more
Decorum.
No, decorum's the wrong word, but a little bit more thought for the fish. I know that what I'm doing is hard to justify. Perhaps when I get older, I won't fish them at all. I'll just film them because I love filming them. I love watching them.
What about barbs versus barbless hooks? You got any?
Oh, I always use a barb.
Yeah.
A barb stops the hook moving a lot of the time.
Did you find those rules on those lakes where they were banning barbless hooks a bit strange
I've never
as well?
I've never used a barbless hook.
Yeah.
If I had to go somewhere and it says barbless, I just crush a barb down to leave a lump to keep the hook from moving. But barbless hooks, I think, are folly.
Yeah.
Like, massive folly. With big fish, and the trouble is, because of the way we fish from now, the sort of tackle and the type of rods and stuff, like, there's not really much chance.
I don't think you want a hook moving around too much.
You don't want a hook moving at all.
No.
At all.
No.
And I just think, like, everybody I've seen I mean, I might be completely wrong, and I'll get loads of people saying, you're fucking... But, you know, I can only go on what I see. And I see an awful lot of terrible mouth damage that seems to be totally unnecessary to me. And all that keeping fish stacked up in shallow water I think I'm looking forward to someone bringing out a retainer that's actually got an oxygen meter built in. Like, you haven't got to make it anything more than a green light and a red light, and that light would be red more than it's green, and that tells you enough, really. So yeah, in that respect, I'd like to see a little bit more care taken. You know, all this industry that's built up around it, and
Have you seen? You know, you said about the retainers and stuff. Have you seen kind of evidence of fish that have?
All I see now is, listen. When I was growing up, we never had unhooking mats. We laid them on the grass, and I fished on the cons and the fisheries and the long life, and fished at Savay with all them boys. Never saw a carp with a broken tail.
Yeah.
Seriously, never saw a carp with a broken tail ever. Now, 1 in 3 carp I see's got a snapped off tail, half its fucking mouth hanging off, bad damage, like angler damage.
How can that happen though?
Because people don't give a fuck about them. They're a
But
commodity.
they got great big unhooking mats.
Yeah,
and
because they've got
everything to
fucking
do
bars through them, and they have silly cradles that are metal edge, and the carp goes with its tail, and its tail just snaps in half because it's not bone like your hand is. The rays in a tail are like that, and so of course, as soon as you do that, it snaps.
So you think it's educating people how to actually handle
I think
a fish?
we all need to do an awful lot more educating. If it was down to me, you'd never be allowed to take them out the lake. You certainly wouldn't be putting them in cradles or fucking things with metal bars running through them. That's just... I mean, I go to my syndicate in Belgium, and to try and keep the fish in better condition, like they've stopped sacking, and, you know, it's a snaggy, rocky lake, and even sacking them up can be... I sacked one up a year or two ago before they brought that ban in, and like went out in the morning. I couldn't get the fucker out. The cord was tight, and I was thinking, bollocks, and it was cold, and... I've got to swim now and dive down to see what it's caught on, and like, you can pull, but are you going to break a fin by just, like, all this stuff, like, you know, it just and they use big unhooking mats, and they've stopped all the night stuff, stopped you sacking them to prevent this, and then you have these waslings, and like, you've got to carry them out in a wasteling, and you're not allowed to carry them out in the net because that's deemed not fair. So you carry them out in a wasteling, lay them down in an unhooking mat in a wasteling with bars in it, and it starts flapping about. It's going to snap a fin. It's absolute basics, surely.
The net thing is, for me, is so straightforward. You land the fish. If you've got a deep mesh, it's just done, isn't it? You can stake it while you need to get your stuff together.
Yeah,
I just don't.
But it doesn't sell a product.
Well, yeah, maybe, but you know.
Come on, you know as well as I do. Like, money will always overrule fish care. And what I'm saying to you is, and I'm saying to the companies out there, come on, you make enough fucking money. Like, you've got enough products. Like, focus on the carp, because ultimately, like, in the future there will be no big carp scene. It's almost fucking gone now. I've never pursued it because I could see it had no future. And like I said to you, it's like going out of a girl that all your mates have already slept with. Like, why the fuck would you want to do that? Oh, I had her, Nick. Yeah, she does that, doesn't she? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and I just think that leaves me.
It's true, isn't it?
Everything's
so mixed
up.
up.
But there's so few. When you've got something so desirable, of course, so many people want to go after it, and that in itself means that Nick is out. I don't want to sit on I like to think I'm a good angler. I certainly fucking can see things for what they are, and you know, when you've got 30 or 40 men with time and skill and mindset and all that chasing the same fish, surely anybody with any gambler or anyone that half a clue about gambling or odds and that would say, I think I'll sit this one out. Let's be honest.
You were responsible for one tactic that I think really changed carp fishing.
It did change carp fishing.
The sticks.
Yeah. And I was
Massive.
I'd got it down, like, it wasn't just the stick, it was putting the hook link through the centre of it.
Yeah.
And Rob Maley went, well, it's just a swim feeder. I thought, you fucking bastard. When he said that to me, I thought, no, it's not a swim feeder, Rob. It's better than that. But of course, really, it was just a swim feeder, just under a different name. But yeah, I've always been a great experimenter because I always found carp fishing so easy. Rather than focusing on the angling, I always focused on trying to catch more of them by hook or by crook. So I'd mess around with stuff.
It got the best of all worlds, didn't it? It was a cross between using a mesh and a solid PVA bag.
Yeah, I mean, the product was there before I started to, the funnel web was there. I just made use of the funnel web.
Did it come out for very long when you started doing that?
No, it hadn't been out
as
long.
As soon as it came out, you thought, right, okay.
Well, no, I was fishing with Jan Porter, actually.
Yeah.
And I was explaining him that I was trying to do this, and Jan went away and came back and had wattled me a bit of willow that fitted down the tube. And because he'd made it for me, I kept it for a long time. And I said, well, I'm going to start pushing it down and then compressing it. And then once I started to mess around with it, then I started to realise the potential of pelletising something. And then I was doing it without PVA to start with, but it was too hit and miss. So the actual PVA came back later as like a jacket to hold it together while it was one of those things, like most tactics. Like I did a lot of zig fishing before anybody was doing zig fishing, and I wrote a lot about colours before anybody was really writing about colours. And I can remember sitting on a stage, as this shows how fucking mad it is. And I was really strong. I didn't want to go on stage. I used to tell you my heart rate would go so high, I'd like literally start blacking out. Couldn't even feel my heart beating in the end. It would go so bad. And I'd start to lose feeling in my hands. And all. That's all anxiety from being pushed down the road you don't want to go down. I can remember sitting on stage with Dave Lane and Chili, and they were a bit pissed and a bit bolshy, and they were always fucking full of themselves. And I can remember, like, someone said, right, Nick, and it was sunny. It was a March morning or May or something. And he said, how would you catch one today? And I said, bit of cork under the surface or close to the surface. And they were chortling and laughing and all that. And I thought, you fucking rude pricks. Anyway, as it turns out, like, it made me laugh. A few years later, there was fucking matey in the magazine showing his zig rigs and fishing. I thought, oh, you ain't laughing now, are ya? But of course, what you got to remember is in fishing, anglers especially, have got very short memories. Very short memories. They remember the stuff that suits their agenda. But the truth is, I remember all of it. I'm like an elephant. I might not bring it up, but if fucking something will trigger it and I'll remember stuff, and I remembered that. And I thought, yeah.
Are you looking at stuff that other people are doing and thinking, do you know what? I need
now?
That. Yeah.
Now, I've become... The more scaffolding the rigs become, the more constructed, the more that dexterity and skill and all of that gets less and less the more it plays into my hands. Because
you don't think those rigs work so well? Or?
I couldn't give a fuck. Like, if you want to spot around a float at 200 yards and fish at fucking whatever wraps and the more people fish in a contrived manner, the easier it is for me to catch carp. Because I just look at what everyone's doing and I will just do totally the opposite. If they're all fishing in a one way, but I've always done that. That's just being an angler. That's not being exceptional. That's just ringing the changes. And I would have been, I'm sure as a match angler, I'd have been really good because I can just analyse what's going on and try and do something that I think will get more bites. But you fish in that style because the actual fishing itself ain't that much of a challenge to you. So you start looking at other stuff. And like people that sort of experiment like that, invariably come up with stuff. It's little things. And it's always been little things. And the reason some of my friends are such great anglers is because of their attention to detail and their obsessiveness. Like a lot of my very good carp fishing friends are super OCD. I'm not quite so OCD. I'm a bit more ad hoc, or it appears ad hoc. A lot of people say, oh, fucking Nick Kelly he just wangs one out there. He didn't use a marker. He don't wrap up. He don't do anything. Like, it can always be made to look a lot more simple and effective than it is, but that is the best way to fish. The reason I fish like that is because it's the fucking best way. If the best way was to wrap a fucking load of rubbish around sticks and cast out on 3 rods on the same spot, I'd be doing it. But it's not. Like, an angler is the sum of his parts. I've caught 40 pounders off the surface, I've caught 40 pounders off the bottom, I've caught 40 pounders mid-water, I've caught fucking 40 pounders in the lake behind where they shouldn't have been. Like, it's just, carp fishing is relatively easy. But as anglers, we seem to make and we seem to make it as hard as possible. And it always comes about because some crafty bugger tries to get. If you've caught one, he wants to catch 2. So if everybody used 18mm boilies and size 6 hooks and 3-ounce leads, and nobody deviated from that, and we all fish the same, everybody would catch loads, and it'd be great. And then there's that one fucker that thinks, I'm going to use 10 mils, and I'm going to get loads more bites. And as soon as that's starting, it's fucked.
Yeah,
it's fucked.
Yeah,
and like I'm all that's happened is I've seen it fucked so many times. When it all starts to go one way, I've got in my armoury. I just think, well, I'll do that then.
Do you think? I mean, is it a big armory that you've got when you go fishing, or is it relatively?
Right it is.
But do you find you need to dig too deeply into that very often, or is it?
No.
I
Because I love varied fishing. I love varied style of fishing. I'm a fucking absolute stone cold floater fishing machine when I want to be. I haven't done any for a few years, but when I was fucking catching what the whole rest of the syndicate was catching in a week. I'd catch in fucking a day, or in a season I'd catch in a week, like that, because I'm motivated and keen, and I've got the kit in my armoury to do the job, and I've got the skill set. So long range controller fishing, long range floater fishing, most people can't do it. I can easily fish at mega range of controllers.
Did you ever get into beach caster?
No, but funny enough, like when I started to look in, my dad started to explore the family tree. Like a few Helleurs were. I used to be really good at cross country when I was at school. A few Helleurs were really good runners. A couple of the other, I always wanted to be a marine biologist. I was the Jacques Cousteau generation, and a few Helleurs were marine biologists, and a couple of them were tournament casters in New Zealand.
Right.
Yeah, how mad's that?
Yeah.
Totally unconnected.
Yeah,
but I've always been able to sling a lead a long way.
Yeah, and I say no, the beach caster floater rig, that stuff as well. You know, do you remember people were doing?
Cheating.
You think it's cheating?
Fucking right, it's cheating.
Go
and wash your mouth out. Get out. Go on. Out. We have someone else in here, please. Like I'm. Yeah,
but that was
cheating. That's cheating.
Why? Why is it cheating?
There's no line in the water. Like, no, I'll tell you for why. Because when you fish for them to any extent like that, rather than coming along, bobbing along the surface, eating them as they go, they start to do that.
Right.
And the second they start to do that, it's fucked. It's all over. Like when they're doing that, I can't catch them because I'm using a 9-foot hook link or a 6-foot hook link or whatever. When they're coming up like that, you fucking destroyed it. But when they're coming along like that, same on the bottom. It's fucking everyone's a coconut, isn't it? You just have to think about.
It was devastating for a while, though, wasn't it? That?
Yeah, because it's cheating.
Because they were coming up.
Yeah, because it's cheating. That's why it's devastating. Like, I could have gone out in the middle of the lake and shot them with a shotgun. And said, I've caught them all today, but they're all dead.
I was walking around a lake recently, and I saw a guy using one of their.
It's true. The thing is, like, it's all
it's a bit black and white with you, isn't it? Really,
it's really bad, but it seems irreverent. But like, it is that black and white to me. Like, it's easy. If you want to cheat, it's fucking easy. If you want to cheat in life, it's easy. But the trouble is, in life, normally when you cheat, you get caught in the end. And when you get caught, the penalties are stiff. In fishing, there's no stiff penalties. You might get kicked out of your club for cheating. But cheating, I don't do cheating. So why all my friends are now raving about this polling and all this old shit, I just think, you're fucking cheating.
So where do you draw the line then?
I was brought up, it's very different. People go, what counts and what does this and what does that? Well, I've grown up and I've fished through the inception since the hair rig. Yeah? All those fish in the lakes that I've fished, I've been fished for since the hair rig. Now, what counts is if those fish have gone through all of that, same as I have, them fish count. They seriously count. Nowadays, like, people are counting fish that are fucking 5 years old. They don't even know what their dick's for. Like, they barely know how to eat a boilie. And like, they get big very quick. We are changing carp fishing. Carp are becoming seasonally big because of the way we're breeding them. And when carp become seasonally big, they don't get fish for the rest of the time. So we're changing carp fishing. So those carp are seasonally very big. The rest of the time they're sub-big. You know, they might lose. Like the French carp, the difference between a summer and winter weight can be anything up to 25 pound. But the English strains, the modern English strains, are mirroring that really great. You know, a 30 pounder can be 15 pound different between spring and autumn. You know, it can be 45 pound in the autumn and 30 pound in the summer. That's just how it's going. Like that's a product of breeding and fishing. But of course, because it goes like that, the cycle of fishing changes.
The breeders just become more efficient, and the
Everything's
breeders
become
now
more
know
efficient.
exactly how to get the best out of them as well.
Yeah, well, I'm not. You know, that doesn't rock my boat. You know, it goes back to that same old shit. Like when I was a kid, they nicked them from here, there, and everywhere. And you'd fish lakes that had a lovely mix of fish. You'd catch a short, fat grey one, and then a big, long brown one, and then a fat, scaly one, and that is carp fishing.
So what are we supposed to do nowadays then?
Well, you do what makes you happy. Like I'm not judging. I might judge. You know, I judge verbally, but I don't judge people for the fishing they want to do. Like I said, it should be about what makes you happy. Do you know what I really enjoy now? Obviously I'm getting remarried. I said I'd never get married again after the last debacle, but of course you do because you're thick and you forget after time, don't you? And I've been taking my fiance's boy fishing, and he's new to it, so I don't want to mug him off a great. He's caught a few 20 pounders. Like I've got the bites and he's wound him in, or I helped him wind him in. That's wrong, really. I want him to. So I've started taking him like to the farm pond where he can catch a few tench and crusions, and I fucking love it because it's innocent and it's like
Well,
there's no expectations.
Yeah.
And like I want him to learn like that. Learn that you do it because you want to do it. Not he doesn't really want to catch 20-pounders. They scare him. They're too big for him to pick up. And like when they flap, he's fucking. Oh, I'm not too sure about that. They pull too hard. It hurts his winkle. My winkle hurts, and all that. So all he wants to do is go and catch a few little tench, a few roach, a few perch, eat his crisps and his chocolate, and I can quite happily sit there and fucking detangle it for him and set him up again. And I fucking I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it.
And you'd be quite happy to see him stay like that for as long as possible.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. My friend Trevor. He split up with his girlfriend recently, sadly, but she was. He started taking her everywhere around Europe with him, and he wouldn't let her carp fish. One, because she probably catch bigger ones than him, but she was only allowed to have a feeder rod out and all that. He wouldn't let her jump straight into carp fishing, and I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah.
But
that's what you do. I mean, you were talking about the pond, weren't you? Just as you coming into Harefield, that you used to.
Yeah, I caught my first.
Still go past it. And,
still come past every day. I caught my first carp there.
Yeah.
Like when we never thought we could catch them, but like I said to you before, like we learnt so much there.
The old boy on the lake telling you that.
Yeah.
And Bill Quinlan saying, "Leave those big fish alone for a while." As well. It's like
we learnt the power of pre-baiting. I told you we used to go over the silage pit and dig up all the manure, and it was full of dendrobinas, like thick with them. And we'd get a whole wheelbarrow full, run up to the edge of the lake, and tip it in. It'd go about 4 foot out, and then we'd go back the next day with our lift method corn or
Don't
worms.
see too many people baiting like that nowadays, do you?
It was just. We emptied our keep nets twice and stuff in a weekend of tench and crusions, and nothing big, like the biggest tench might be. That was a good one. Do you know what I mean? But as kids, you just can't get enough. You can't get your fill, can you? Like you'd stay there until literally you were so hungry you felt like you were going to die, and then you'd go home. But I think a lot of kids like that, they start off it's virgining and they're excited by it. And carp fishing is a long old road, mate. It's a long old road. And would I advise anybody, you know, if I had my time again, would I do it the same? Well, no. I think with hindsight, we'd all make a few changes.
What changes?
I would never.
Well, how far would we have to go back?
We'd have to go back a long way. But I wouldn't have done what I've done now, because I see it as like, I haven't wasted my life. My dad thought I'd wasted my life. You're an idiot, boy. If you can't eat it, what the fucking hell are you trying to catch it for? Like, you're an idiot. That was how we viewed it. And the older I get, I sort of get that now. I think, he weren't that stupid, was he? He's actually had it pretty right from the word go. I just wouldn't be as intense. I wouldn't try and I never tried to make money out of fishing. They came calling. I didn't. It was a means to an end. Like if I wrote a bit for a magazine, he'd give me £100. It means that I could stay down the lake for another week. It was very innocent. And I'm one of the very few people in the trade that still, you know, you've got to remember for a long time that you could count on one hand the amount of anglers that made a living in this country. Seriously. There were very, very few. Like Frank Warwick, Terry, me, like a handful.
Do you think that's changed very much then?
Nah.
It hasn't, has it?
Nah. I think everybody's so desperate to sell their soul for fuck all for a packet of hooks. People are, you know, my job as a consultant was destroyed 15 years ago. Angling consultant, like, it means fuck all now, because you've got so many kids catching as many as we do, and probably more, from all over the world, and they give it all for nothing for a bit of tackle. And so like that whole avenue to make a living was pretty much taken from us. And again, like, only a very few people actually make enough to actually sustain any sort of life. I mean, I made a living, but not in the modern world. People would go, fucking hell, couldn't pay me fucking bills on that. But when you've got nothing, something goes a long way, doesn't it?
It's surprising though with you, isn't it? Because it looks like you've got, you know, you've got like a nice standard of living.
Really?
From somewhere. It does, doesn't it? It comes across like that, doesn't it?
It does.
You know, you don't look like a tramp or someone that's like,
No, I was always really quite trendy, like all young men are. I just got to a point where I realised that I think that everyone gets to about their late 40s and then they think, do you know what, I can't be bothered anymore. I don't care if I'm wearing £500 Gore-Tex shoes. I always did. I I've got a massive collection of very expensive jackets and shoes and stuff.
Yeah.
It all means nothing anymore. I give most of it away, and that's the difference. I never profited from it in that respect. When I worked for Shimano, I must have had 1,000 rods in 10 years. I might be a bit of an exaggeration, but everybody I knew had a nice set of prototype rods, and because I never sold them, because they were given to me to either test or so. Because they were given to me for nothing, it never felt right.
I mean, is that what you were doing there then? Were you a tester? Were you testing a lot of tackle?
Well, in the end, like, to start with, with Shimano, it was the one company when I first started there. I'd get an actual sheet, and I would, the blanks were still being made in Japan, and that they were fucking far ahead of their time. Now, bearing in mind, I've used pretty much every sort of fishing rod since time began. I got a fair idea about quality and recoveries and all the stuff that's relevant to a carp angler. And Shimano, in the early day, were the only company where I'd be sent religiously big orders of shit that I'd be going through. But since then, since the catalogue-y sort of time came, of the tribal stuff, and I've worked for pretty much every major company, but nobody wants your input. Because it's not needed anymore.
It's
like
just
you
putting
go,
your name to
you go to a Korean rod builder or any, and there's a load of fucking blanks, and you pick one out, and nothing's made to order. And this isn't a designed carp rod; it's fucking off the shelf. They're all off the shelf, and anybody that tells you anything otherwise is a fucking liar. I mean, it's different nowadays. There might be a bit more of a process, but back then there wasn't.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of changing carp rods actually over the last
there isn't
15
mate.
years.
There's only so much you can do, and it's the same. I said years ago I used to write quite prolifically, but I wrote prolifically because it paid my way. I was self-taught writer, never learned at school. Wrote from writing for Big Carp magazine. I read my first article not long ago actually. I found an early Big Carp and I read it, and it was like fucking the cat sat on the mat. Like I couldn't even read it. I thought, oh god, that was awful.
So did you do an article before the con stuff? Was that one of your first articles?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I had an amazing.
There was a lot of
year on
kudos
cons.
with that magazine as well, wasn't there? When that came
Yeah,
out
early
as well.
on, yeah, there was, yeah, but and then it just like everything fades into oblivion, doesn't
Yeah.
it? I don't even know if it's still going.
It might be, but they are. They're going fast, aren't they?
I don't think any of the titles that I've got an interview come out in a big Spanish mag. But like there's still a few on the continent, and I just did a big piece for Subsurface, is it? Because when it all started. Like I can remember the very first one they did, that Subsurfaced, and like Gareth's an artist.
That was nice.
And it was going to be nice. And
Yeah.
Gareth said, I've saved you 12 pages. And it was at the time when I was getting divorced and I was fucking down on everything and my mind wasn't in a good place and I was bitter and angry and I had nothing to say. And I said to Gareth, I've got nothing to say, mate. Nothing. Like I had nothing to say. Same as this, I had nothing to say. I've got plenty to say, but I didn't want to do it because... why do they want me on the Korda podcast? What am I going to say apart from be contentious and rub people up the wrong way? Which isn't deliberate. That's just I'm a little bit fucking. As I get older, you can't tell me because nobody can tell me because I've been doing it much longer than all of you.
Subsurface sounded like your sort of thing. Though,
I've just done a bit for it.
Yeah.
My friend Dave was, we really want you, and I've taken loads of pictures. But even my passion for taking pictures in mad places fishing and that all. Has waned, I carry one camera now and a video camera. I used to carry fucking everything. And
because a lot of it is quite.
Like I said,
some great pictures, don't we? But some of it is quite pretentious.
It's
nowadays.
pretentious and contrived, and basically a copy of other people's stuff. So, like, if someone's seen a picture of me fishing at a certain mountain lake, and then they find it, then they jump on that, and it's just I can take it or leave it now.
I mean, I think it works always. I mean, it's great that it's bred some great photography and some great images. I think that's great.
But it's at saturation point now. What you've got to remember is if you're, it used to be you'd see the very best of British and that was enough. But Germany, without doubt, is the best carp country in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, you said that.
What
in terms of quality of strain, size of fish?
Quality of strain, size of fish, where they're at in their time scale of busy waters and stuff. Like it's
how
probably
far behind are they?
They're in the rest of it. They're not behind at all with tackle and that. It's all of a par now. If the boys at Korda do it, it goes to Korda Netherlands, Korda Germany, Korda France. So in that respect, there's no. But in fishing, fucking hell, 25 years. Like if a German angler, one of the top flight German anglers come here, he'd be like, oh, fuck that, I would never bother going again. And it's the same, like, yeah, I think people just don't realise.
And what about
how
the carp on
different-
their life cycles as well? Because we saw a lot of well-known big carp dying off in the early 2000s, didn't we? Germany kind of are their fish on that.
Well, they died
Same
off
cycle.
because of, there's lots of reasoning behind that, isn't there? It's not just bait. I think the bait has got unbelievably worse over the years. The EU destroyed bait making. Like everything had to be pasteurised, homogenised, and like a lot of the stuff that was really good natural ingredients, like suddenly was 2 bob. Like bait has got worse, not better. And now. And there's good bait out, don't get me wrong, the top flight bait companies all make fantastic bait, but ingredients wise, bait is not at the stage it was in the early 90s. I was using capelin meal and fucking stuff like that, which was like
Super expensive stuff.
well, just not even the expense at the time. It was available. Now it's uneconomical to even produce it, let alone make it. And the biggest folly of all is because I come from a time when I understand flavours. I came from people that fucking taught me the very best. I came from people that knew. And like I said, we're not scientists, but I fucking know when something's good. Do you know what I mean?
You
And,
said your pop-up mixes and stuff derived
yeah,
from,
they were like, we were miles ahead of everything, right? And now, where we're at, all these new flavours and all that, they're all shit. Do you know why they're shit? Because a flavour was made by these artisans that created them from oils and extracts and chemicals and acetone and fucking all sorts of different bits and bobs that mix together to make a smell, yeah? Now, you go in there, the mate who comes from the company says, oh, yeah, we can do that. How much is that? Well, that's £45 a kilo, right? Massively prohibitive to use. Even in fishing bait, prohibitive to use.
Right.
Oh, we can do that for £10 a kilo. Same stuff, right? It goes in a machine like that. The machine sniffs it, says we can replicate that, and it comes back looking like that. Thin, shitty, it's got no substance, nothing in it. You can see it's just a mixture of chemicals. Smells identical. Put a bit of colour in it, even look identical. Won't get the viscosity right and stuff, right? But it's shit, right? Flavours work for a lot of reasons that we had no idea about. Now, you go outside the EU. I started fishing a few years ago with some Czech guys. Their bait was fucking head and shoulders above
Frank
ours.
said that.
Head and
Yeah.
shoulders. And do you know
Yeah.
why? Because the flavours are still made in the old way. So if you want to know about proper flavours, go outside the EU and there's still some amazing shit out there. Like the original Rod Hutchinson flavours and all that, all pre-EU, all fucking fantastic. None of it was designed, despite what people will tell you, it was by chance. He mixed a bit of that, that smelled all right, well that's one, mix a bit. It was just like any of us would do if we didn't know any better. And then you'd give it out to people and, how'd you get on with that shit I sent you, Si? And you say, fucking hell, I couldn't get a rod in the water. Really? Oh, that's interesting. What were you using? 5 mil? Oh, well, we'll put 5 mil on the bottom. And that's pretty much how it was.
Because there's not always a defining reason why these flavours and ingredients necessarily work, is there?
I think there's no defining reason.
No.
I think pH and stuff working on the same thing is comparable. Most people have no concept. Even the very best people that tell you they know about everything, they know fucking very little. I knew about stuff that really works because it really worked. We used a milk protein base mix. We used neat ethyl butyrate that probably will cause you cancer or fucking brain tumours. Who knows? None of us will know till it's too late. But we used stuff like that because it fucking worked. It didn't just work, it was dynamite. You'd get a load of bites on one thing and nothing on another. And when you work like that, of course, over the years, now if I've come to my conclusion and got something working really well, I ain't telling you. I might give it to me mate and say, look, stick a bit of that in. I can cut the meal or something. Like, it'll really make a difference. But you need to be using this. We had a lot of weird shit happen. I used to use one bait that was a lactose serum protein concentrate. That's what we used. Martin got that, Martin Locke. And we had some of that, and it was like, fucking hell. It was so expensive per sack, we couldn't even really afford to use it. And we used a bit of casein, a bit of Marmite, a bit of liquid rennet to break the enzymes down. All stuff that is fucking 20 years ago was miles beyond most people. And in the winter, we'd use an ethyl butyrate. And I noticed that when I was fishing, the very outside of the bait started to almost go slimy. Almost and slimy's not the right word, but you'd have a boilie and almost have like a wet outside to it, and you couldn't work out why. But when it went like that, if the water temperature was cold, I couldn't keep a fucking rod in the water. No, like I've said to you, and I've said a lot of times, I ain't no scientist, but I'm not a prick either. Like, when something's obvious, I fucking notice it. And a lot of our bait discoveries were on that sort of level. Like, it worked. Why the fuck it works or how it works, I don't know, but it fucking worked. And that's all I need to... I don't care why it works. That's not important to me. But the fact that it did work is important. And a lot, that's how a lot of these great... Oh, they all talk about... All the young kids talk about autumn harvest and all that. They were fucking 2 bob flavours. We didn't even bother with them because we try and they were nothing. But now they're held in such massive high regard, and every time I see it, I chuckle away to myself and think, you silly little bastards, you haven't got a clue. Like, you would want to be looking at that one and that one and that one. But bait and stuff like that, experiments, it's only something that you can gain an understanding with over time. And
Trial and error.
Rod was pissed, let's be honest, for most of it, but he had an understanding. And he'd give out stuff to enough people. And when Terry and I went back to him and spoke, he didn't even remember. I can't even remember where that one came from. I think I mixed that with something else. Like, he didn't know.
No.
They didn't know.
No.
But they knew enough to know that when something worked, they wrote it down.
Yeah,
and
that's
sent
right.
it out
Just
to a
write
few
it
people.
down, innit?
Yeah. And that was that was how most... Despite what anyone tells you, I used to read Tim Paisley about fucking all... And it all reads well to a layman. Of course it reads well.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's like reading a witch's fucking...
Well, most people don't understand it, do they? So.
Well, if you don't understand it, and like someone's trying to baffle you with
Yeah.
shit, you're taking in, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
Like, so yeah, I mean, bait. I know a lot about bait, and I knew a lot about flavours, but only because trial and error, and that was the only way we could learn. And every now and again, you'd hear someone say, "Oh, them boys from Thingy, his mate works at such and such a factory, and he's got the flavour that they put in this sweet and all that, and they're catching fucking loads on them." And then we'd be like, "Oh, can you get us a bottle? Can you get us?" And then we'd be using, and that's how it goes, mate. Word of mouth, trial and error, and when something works, you fucking know it works, so you keep it. That's
I went out running last night with the owner's son of Umbar, who make.
And by Rothmans, yeah, I remember.
I was running with him last night.
What, you really?
Yeah.
They used to do. They did. I'm pretty sure it was not spearmint. They did a fucking flavour that was really good.
God,
years
they've
ago.
done loads of stuff.
Yeah, I had tons. When I worked for Lockie, so I used to run the bait department at Solar in 2000-ish. And like, of course, I had a carte blanche to order in what I wanted and experiment and get all this amazing stuff. That's where the word munger came from. That was my munger. The mix that, and Danny and all that was like, "What are you using?" "Oh, just some munger that I've made up."
Yeah.
And it fucking stuck through carp fishing
Well, Dan
since.
took that on, didn't he?
Yeah, loads of them did.
Yeah.
Loads of the stuff that we said and the words we used have become commonplace in carp fishing, just like the flavours and stuff.
Yeah. No, he was saying he listened to some of Regan's podcast, and we were talking about bun spice and stuff like that.
Bun spice?
Yeah, bun spice, and they were doing all that.
Do you know what?
Stuff.
I am. You couldn't get the old flavours anymore, so I made it.
Right.
An old Essex angler who should remain nameless has got a very big rep in the game. He said to me, "Can you make that?" I said, "Yeah, it's eugenol and some, what was it? Eugenol and cinnamaldehyde and something." I reconstructed it from scratch, and it was fucking just as good. But there was one that, well, I can't even name it. There's one that Terry Earn and a few of the boys use, and that I've used in the past that's so fucking good. And you just can't get it anymore.
You can't get it.
I spend my time like some crack addict looking on eBay trying to find an old bottle of it. I'd pay £100 for 10 mil of it if I could find it. That's how good it was. And there's still a few of those about, but getting them, and of course word of mouth, once word gets out and people know how good they are, then you just can't get them for love nor money. There's an awful lot of people looking for the same things.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of people that aren't interested as well nowadays, aren't there? As well, I mean,
I said carp fishing has become like, if you sign up to carp fishing now, it's pretty much handed to you on a plate.
It is.
It takes no skill set.
No.
Like, you don't need to be able to cast, you get a bait boat. And if you can't cast accurately, you get a fucking pole now that you just ship it out and drop it straight on them when they're bubbling. I see the merit in all of it. But could I do that? No.
No, because you're from an era where you were used to having to think like that.
Well, one of my friends this year, he's caught 4 50-pounders from one lake. No one else has caught a 50-pounder from there, and he's using a pole, and he's using it at 50 metres, and he's dropping them on bubblers, like no casting noise, ships it out there onto the bubblers and just tips it on there, a few grains of corn and that. And yeah, he's caught 450s this year.
A few grains of corn.
But what I'm saying is, he's a fucking mustard angler, whether he's using a fucking baiting pole or not. But you give a good angler an edge like that, and it's just so easy. You might as well stay at home.
Yeah.
And I don't subscribe to that anymore.
Yeah.
I said to you before, like I'm not elitist. I'm not arrogant as people have said I am. I'm certainly not secretive, but I am discerning. I've become, over many years, you know, like I said to you, you don't just drink anything, you drink the very best of what you enjoy. A nice whiskey or a very good cigar or a very nice bit of weed, whatever it is, whatever your vice is. Everyone's got something they like. I just like a lot of everything. But I joke you. No, I used to like a lot of everything. I don't anymore. I'm a very moderate man. So basically that you know, I've just become more discerning, and that is across the board. That's life, fishing, experience. I want the very best, and I want it in its purest form, and I'm not prepared to compromise. And that's just a product of being how I've been for the last 40 years. I'm not prepared to compromise.
Go back to Germany then. Do you see that as like, is that the
yeah, well,
is
the
that
Germans,
as pure as it can get at the moment?
Sneaky Germans. They've kept it so quiet for so long. They're still fishing in France, the cheeky buggers, and they're still, you see them everywhere. They're always, oh, hello, Nick, and all that. Like, they're sneaky buggers, right? They've got the best carp fishing country in the world. They've got the best strains of carp. They've got the biggest carp. They've managed to keep it almost like, I know fucking no English that have fished there to any extent. You get a few people meet on the internet and get invited over and stuff, but like, anglers like me, fucking, they don't want me there because they know I ain't going home. I'm not staying there for like until I catch them all.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to fish there. It's not like England. It's like, you know, it's.
You're talking rivers or still
Mate,
waters?
the only same as Belgium. The only open public fishing you can realistically do is on the rivers and the canals, because the lakes are like England. You'd set up and someone would walk and go, "What are you doing, mate? It's private. Where's your ticket?" "Well, you better fuck off." And like in German. And like, and I'd be like, what? You know, and this is the trouble. Like in France, it was all public, all of it. A syndicate or a private lake was very, very rare. Increasingly, that's not the case. But Belgium now, you know, I fish in Belgium a lot, but I don't fish around like I do in France and that, because you can't. Because you just spend so many trips just getting kicked off or moved on or private, that you'd soon stop bothering. So Germany is very much like that. If I spoke German and I had some good contacts that were honest with me and blah, 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 I'd probably have the door open to a fucking minefield of great fishing. But as it stands, I don't speak the language. I don't know any German carp anglers to any extent, and they are fucking sneaky. They've kept it very, very local, and good luck to them. Good luck to them.
So in terms of great carp fishing, I mean, so what are they keeping quiet?
The location of their carp fishing, how to even get involved in that. Like, you can't do it. If me and you jumped in the car today and drove to Germany and set up on any big, wild-looking gravel pit, in France, I did that for years and got away with it time and time again. I don't think you'd get away with it one trip. I think you'd set up and then you'd come back and your car would be damaged, or you'd have a note on it, or someone would come looking for you with the police. And like, it's just, you know, when you saturate something like carp fishing, there's an awful lot of carp anglers out there now, and they jealously guard their fishing, and who can blame them?
No, exactly.
So yeah, it's not open. Germany's not open for business to English carp anglers. Never has been. I doubt.
And what is it?
Really
A discerning strain or the size of fish out there?
Just look at the pictures. Look
They
what you
do look.
see.
They're quite level. Yeah, some of those.
They're big. They're in great condition because they're not caught to
Nice
death.
little tails. And
Do you know what? Yeah, because that's just the strain and
yeah,
recessive genes and
Yeah.
stuff. That's different. But like, you can just see by looking at the carp. Like, you look at a lot of the big carp in England now, they look fucking tired.
well they are.
Of course they are.
Knackered,
Of course they
aren't
are. Caught to death. And like, you know, something that's beautiful is beautiful, like, until it's not beautiful. And you know, I love a big, fat, grey, scaleless mirror carp. Like, everyone's got something they like. I also like a tall, leggy, blonde sort with big boobs. But you know, everybody's got their own taste, don't they? And one man's meat's another man's poison. I'm also become acutely aware of that as I've got older. And when all's said and all's done, I love things a certain way, but variety is the spice of life. And fishing should never be anything else. Like, don't just sit down. You know, get out there, experience a bit, go and push yourself. Like, in uncomfortable situations. Go and fish where you're not sure even if you're allowed to be there, because all these things shape you as an angler and as a person. And it's none of it's negative. None of it impacts negatively on your life. All it does is galvanise you, makes you future-proof and bulletproof. And I'm living proof of that, I think.
You said as well that you like your little evenings with Terry at times sitting down. What's a conversation like between the two of you two then?
Yeah, it's difficult with, listen, I've known Terry a long time. I love him like a brother, but we can't fish together. Like, that's really difficult. If you put two hunters in a fucking room, like, they're, they end up shooting each other, wouldn't they? Like, because in the end, like that, Terry's a very complex character. All of us are. Like, we've all spent...
You spent a bit of time on the Mere with him, didn't you?
I've spent a lot, at a time when, Tail was always been super focused. He's very OCD. He's not going to mind me saying that about him. But a lot of people think Terry's very black and white, and he's not. He's a product of Barry. And if you ever get Barry in here, you'll understand pretty quickly that Barry is not just a normal bloke. When you've got a father like that, you can't help but be shaped. And like Terry's his own man, he's not a product of his dad in that respect. And I love Terry. We are we can say stuff without speaking to each other, which sounds ridiculous. We're on the same fucking thing. And we've also, there's a lot of sixth sense shit gone on between us. And like I said, like, there's very few people of my generation that have fished as much as I have. There's a very small list, mate. Nigel Sharp, Terry
you can relate
me.
to those guys.
Yeah, because we've spent our entire lives fishing. My fishing's been vastly different to theirs, but we still share that. We're still on the same levels, but we can't spend massive amounts of time with each other because very quickly we start to annoy each other. It's like a bit like kryptonite to each other, I think. I love Tel, but like, I'm a bit of a live wire for him sometimes, and sometimes he can be a bit quiet for me. But another thing that you learn as you get older is you accept your friends for their foibles. Like, you don't fucking not speak to someone anymore because something they've said or the way they do something bothers you. As you get older, you accept that your friends are fucking mad and like really annoying and probably a bit of an arsehole at times, but that's fine. That's fine. They're your friends. And like I told you the other day, like, most people in this world, you go through this life, you'll be very lucky if you've got more than 2 or 3 people that you can actually call not just friends, but people you can count on. In the modern world, everyone's a fly-by-night friend, isn't they? A great friend until you rung them at 2 in the morning and said, I'm on the fucking side of a mountain in the south of France. I don't know who else to ring. Can you help me? They're fucking hell. If you've got more than 2 or 3 of them in your life, you're a very wealthy man, my friend. And
you don't need too many either, do you? You just
no.
It's quality.
But the difference is, like, if Terry was fucking stuck on a mountain in the south of France and he rung me and said, mate, I'm in shit, I'd be like, right, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
Because you do that for your friends, and that's the other thing that fishing can give you, the sort of friendship that you don't really get in normal life, because people see you at your best, your worst, farting in your sleeping bag down the lake, or drinking tea out of a dirty cup, all these little weird idiosyncratic things that fishermen do. You just accept your friends for what they are. And I really like that. I'm really good friends with Tel, really good friends with Nigel. I don't speak to them, either of them, very much. And I spend even less time with them because we're all busy doing our own thing. But I'm happy to know that he's happy doing his own thing, same as he's happy to know that I'm happy doing my own thing. Yeah. And like, there's an awful lot to be said for that.
It's been a good show. Have you enjoyed it?
I've really enjoyed it. I don't think we
talked
talked
nice
about
and comfortable.
I'm just calming down now. I'm just calming down now. I've tried not to be too contentious, not sworn. I haven't smoked anything. I think it'd be better with with a nice cigar and an alcoholic drink and a little bit more ambience.
We'll get the gin and cigars.
You
next
think
time.
it lacks a little bit of ambience in here then?
No, it's all right. Listen, you're in a fucking office block in Basildon.
We're not in an office block.
There's only so much we could do.
We're in a tailor-made building here.
Whatever. It's fucking tomato, isn't it?
No, but you look comfortable doing it. I'm
getting more comfortable. I'm hot.
I'm freezing. I'm freezing cold, Nick.
I live outside. Like, I can't stay indoors.
I'll tell you what, it's hot being on this side as well with these lights, actually.
Look, I cut my hand on the thing. I've been in the...
Terrible.
I was in the dungeon for 2 days.
I know.
Yeah, sorry.
I know.
That's all right, mate. I know that They knew that they couldn't get me here to do it, so they sent the old ex-Mossad boys to kidnap me from the pond.
And it worked.
And it worked. Well, it didn't work. I was like, 1 minute I was all right sitting there having a joint and enjoying myself. Next minute I had a bag on my head and in the back of
it's worked for us, Tobe.
in the back of a transporter being whisked to Essex. It's not the ideal scenario, is it?
Well, like I say, I've enjoyed it.
Mate,
It's
I've
been
loved it
great.
as well.
No, it's been really good.
good.
It's been really good. I don't want to stop. It's only 2 hours. I thought it was going to be like a 4 or 5 hour job. I can't go fishing till later, so you might as well talk about something else.
No, it's been great, mate. And like I say, I like something a little bit different as well at times with this.
Listen, fishing is more than just fishing. Life is a fucking complex, long old road. If you let it get on top of you, it will destroy you very quickly. Experience everything you can. Suck it up like a fucking sponge. And when you're so full of it you can't take any more, wring a bit out and soak a bit more up. And just enjoy it. Like, enjoy your friends, enjoy your fishing. Don't let shit get you down. Mindset is everything, even in this day and age. Like, if someone tells you can't do something, don't fucking fight with them about it. Just go and do it. And if anybody fucking tries to put you down for enjoying what it is you enjoy, you just learn that life, people come and go in life and in fishing, and just get on with it and make the best of it, because it's over so fucking quickly. I'd never lost anybody in my life, and in 2 minutes I lost my mum and my dad, my friend Roger Smith, my friend Jan Porter, my friend Mark Pirette last week, another iconic, amazing angler, had throat cancer all them years and carried on fishing and fucking and yeah, like, you can bumble through life like me, like Peter Pan, with no strings, no ties, no stress, no worries, if you say to yourself that that's all right. If you're all right with stuff, well, then it's all right, isn't it? And I'd like to see carp fishing secured for everybody. I'd like to see the River Thames secured for everyone. I'd like to see fish going into the Thames for the future anglers. And I'd like to see... I know carp fishing has turned into something that I really didn't like. A few years ago, I was so done with it and so bitter with it all. I think that's just a phase that everybody ends up going through. I spoke to Damo, he said, mate, I've been there, we've all been there. Like, especially when you work in the trade, it's very hard to keep your focus and keep a good spirit, I think. But yeah, I'm pleased I came here and did it. I really didn't want to do it. I want to go fishing now, and I think it's time.
You can go fishing now, mate.
I think
We'll
it's
let
time
you
to
go.
fishing now. Thanks, Tobe.
Yeah.
Next
Here,
time,
mate.
just send a car for me. Don't send the heavies, yeah?
Yeah, well,
We
we'll
will
see.
next time, mate. Nick Helleur, thanks very much for coming on the show.
That's all right, mate. I'd love to do it again. Next time we can talk about some actual fishing with a bit of that. Wicked. Nice one.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
The Thinking Tackle Podcast.